My husband, Eli, and I were having dinner when his mother, Helen, suddenly burst into the restaurant and yelled, "Why didn't you invite me?" Eli quickly apologized and pulled out a chair for her. I was furious, but I managed to stay calm. I stood up and said, "You two enjoy, because I'm done with this marriage." The whole restaurant went quiet. I'm 34, married to Eli, who is 38. We've been married for 6 years after dating for 2. When we first met, things seemed perfect. He was kind, funny, and respectful. We hardly fought at first, except when it came to his mother, Helen. I really tried to get along with her. I'm not confrontational, and I always try to be nice. I bake pies at holidays, remember birthdays, and do small thoughtful things. But from the beginning, Helen didn't like me. She made up her mind about me without even getting to know me. When I met her for the first time, she didn't smile. She just looked me up and down and said, "You're taller than I expected." I laughed it off, thinking she was just nervous. But it got worse from there. She'd make comments like, "You don't wear makeup, that's brave," or "That's the dress you're wearing," or "You didn't use my recipe for the stuffing." She even came to our house unannounced. One time, she let herself in with a spare key Eli had given her. I was in my bathrobe and she said, "I used to wear things like that before I got married too." I begged Eli to set some boundaries, but he always said, "She means well, she's just old-fashioned, she's trying in her own way." To me, it felt like she was trying to control everything, but Eli either didn't see it or didn't care. Over time, I saw how much control she had over Eli. He wouldn't make any big decisions without checking with her first. If we planned a trip, he'd ask her if the dates were okay. I couldn't even buy a new couch without getting her opinion. She criticized everything I did, from how I folded towels to how I made eggs. And Eli, he never told her to stop. He just smiled and let me deal with it. A month ago, Eli came home and told me he had a surprise. He had made a reservation at Luca's Trattoria, the same place we went for our first anniversary. He said he wanted to reconnect. Things had been tough, and we hadn't spent time alone in a while. I was happy to hear that. Maybe he was finally ready to focus on us. I got ready, wore my favorite dress, and even curled my hair. We got to the restaurant, and it felt like a nice evening. We were laughing and enjoying our drinks when suddenly we heard a loud voice from behind. "Why didn't you invite me?" Everyone turned to look. There she was, Helen, standing in the middle of the restaurant, glaring at us. Eli froze. She walked up to our table and said, "You told me you were staying in tonight. You didn't say you were coming here." I couldn't say anything. My heart was pounding and I was furious. She turned to me and said, "You didn't think I'd want to be included? That's selfish." Then Eli did it. He looked at her, then at me, and pulled out an empty chair. "Just sit, Mom." "It's fine," he said. I couldn't believe it. I stood up and in a voice I didn't even recognize said, "You two enjoy, because I'm done with this marriage." And I walked out. The restaurant went completely silent. It wasn't just a few people glancing over. Everyone stopped talking. Even the clinking of silverware stopped. I didn't look back at Eli or Helen. I walked out the door and didn't stop until I reached the corner. I called an Uber and went to a friend's house. I didn't go back home that night or the next. When I finally did, Eli was waiting. He looked shocked, like I was the one who ruined the night. He said, "You embarrassed me." I replied, "You chose her." He tried to explain, saying he didn't want to make a scene and that telling her to leave would have caused more trouble. He said he didn't know what else to do. I said, "You could have stood up for me like a husband, like someone who cares." He didn't say anything. This wasn't just about one bad dinner. It was years of being ignored, pushed aside, and expected to just deal with it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I started planning quietly. I stopped engaging with him. No more conversations. No more pretending. I began separating everything. Finances, accounts, everything. I met with a lawyer, got documents, took pictures of everything in the house that I bought. I opened a new bank account, changed my direct deposit, got a P.O. box, and found a new apartment. Eli still acted like nothing was wrong, like the dinner was just an overreaction. I stopped sleeping in the same bed, stopped cooking meals. He didn't seem to notice, or maybe he did and didn't care. After the dinner incident, I stayed quiet and took time to think. Eli acted like nothing had happened. The day after I came back, he was playing video games on the couch like it was any other Saturday. He asked, "You feeling better?" I didn't respond. He said, "You know how she gets." It's easier to let her come along than deal with the drama. I didn't answer, I just walked past him, realizing I was done pretending. I wasn't going to ask him to set boundaries anymore. I was going to act. I made copies of everything: bank records, receipts, texts, and emails. I handled most of our finances, so it was easy to track everything. I found out Eli had been sending his mother money, small amounts at first, but it added up. There were transfers labeled Mom's refund for car repairs, Helen groceries, and reimburse Mom for brunch. I never agreed to any of that. When I casually asked him about it, he said, "She's done so much for us. It's the least I can do." I added screenshots of these transactions to my folder. Things took a bigger turn one morning. While Eli was in the shower, I saw a message from Helen on his phone. I wasn't snooping, but I couldn't ignore it. It said, "Did you tell her yet?" I opened their group chat and saw multiple messages from Helen saying things like, "She's going to find out eventually. You said you'd tell her last week. It's not fair to keep hiding it." There were no other names in the group, just Helen and Eli. I felt my stomach drop. What were they hiding? When Eli came out of the shower, I didn't yell. I just handed him the phone. He went pale and sat down. "I was going to tell you," he said. "Tell me what, Eli?" He then admitted that Helen had moved into an apartment 2 floors below ours 6 months ago. She hadn't told me because she didn't want to make it awkward. She just wanted to be closer to him and keep an eye on things. I couldn't believe it. She had been watching me for 6 months, never saying a word, while Eli helped her move in and lie to me every day. I was beyond angry. He said, "I didn't think it was a big deal." "Not a big deal." I shouted. "Your mother lives in the same building, Eli. You let her stalk me and lie to me for 6 months. That night, I packed a bag and left. Since then, I've been preparing. I found a new apartment, quiet, with no mothers in sight. My lawyer has been great, handling everything step by step. But Helen? She's not taking it well. She's been sending me emails, some passive-aggressive, others downright rude. Here are a few. Marriage is about forgiveness, not throwing tantrums. You're punishing him for being a good son. You'll regret this when you're old and alone." I didn't respond. She even showed up outside my new place, standing on the sidewalk, staring up at my building. When I didn't come down, she sent me a text. "Running won't fix your attitude problem." I showed it to my lawyer, and we're documenting everything. Eli hasn't been chasing me, though. But I know he's still talking to her every day. He probably still doesn't get it. Here's where things got even messier. My lawyer found something while going through our property history. Helen's name is on the condo title. Apparently, when we bought it, Eli listed her as a silent investor to help with the down payment. But here's the kicker. I paid most of that deposit. The paperwork was filed through a friend of Helen's who works at a real estate office. I never saw the fine print. They added her name to the title without me knowing. So now it's me against Eli and Helen, and technically she has a claim on our home. She could try to block me from selling it or force Eli to keep it. My lawyer says we can fight it, but the fact that Eli signed that without telling me, it feels like he was planning this long before that restaurant scene, maybe from the start. I thought the betrayal was bad when I found out Helen had moved 2 floors below us. But I was wrong. I didn't realize how deep the situation went until this week. I thought I was just dealing with a controlling mother-in-law and a husband who couldn't stand up to her. Turns out, I was in the middle of something much more calculated. 2 days ago, Eli texted me asking to meet. He said he wanted to talk about ending things peacefully. He sounded serious, so I agreed to meet at a coffee shop, not Luca's, don't worry. He showed up with a folder and said, "I brought some papers. Nothing legal, just something to make the split smoother." I didn't touch them. I asked, "What are these?" He hesitated. "It's just a quick property settlement. My mom's lawyer helped put it together, just so we're all clear on who gets what." I opened the folder and my heart sank. It was a quick claim deed transferring my interest in the condo to Helen. He said, "You won't have to worry about the place anymore. You're moving out anyway, right? This just settles it. Clean break." I stared at him in disbelief before saying anything. "You want me to give up my home to your mother?" He shrugged. "Yeah, but it's complicated now." I closed the folder, got up, and walked out without saying a word. When I showed the folder to my lawyer, her jaw tightened. "Where did he even get this?" I told her Helen's lawyer had drafted it. She flipped through the pages and said, "This isn't just a quick settlement. It's a trap. If you had signed this, you'd be giving up any right to the property with no compensation. She sat back and said, "You're not divorcing just a man. You're divorcing a mother-son business operation." I started connecting the dots. I went through old emails, receipts, and forgotten conversations, and everything started clicking. When we bought the condo, Helen insisted we use her friend's real estate office. She said, "They'll give you a better rate." At the time, I trusted Eli to handle it. Now I know that office is no longer licensed, shut down for shady dealings and forged documents. Guess who signed the closing papers? Eli and Helen. They left me off whole sections of the contract, telling me it was just standard stuff and didn't need my signature. It's not legal, but it's shady. My lawyer's working on having a property fraud investigator look into it. If we can prove intent, we might have a case for fraud. Here's the latest twist, and it actually made me laugh. Apparently, Helen tried to list the condo for sale last week without me knowing. A neighbor texted me, confused, saying, "I saw a for sale sign outside your unit. Are you moving?" I checked online, and sure enough, my address was listed with an open house scheduled. The contact number was Helen's. I called the agent listed, and he seemed confused, saying he was hired by the co-owner and financial contributor. He said she told him the other party, me, was already bought out. I immediately forwarded that to my lawyer. Now Helen's being investigated for fraudulent listing activity. After the quick claim attempt, Eli started bombarding me with texts. First, long messages about how hurt he was. Then guilt trips. "You're throwing away everything we built." And finally, anger. "You're ruining my life because you're mad at my mom." I didn't respond. He called 11 times in one night, leaving a voice note crying, saying, "You don't understand. She was the only one there for me when I had nothing. She gave me everything, and now you're taking it all away from her." That told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't just married to Ella. I was married to Eli and Helen, and I was the third wheel all along. The condo is now on hold due to the investigation. Nobody can sell it until ownership is clarified. My lawyer is preparing for a full divorce filing and property dispute. I've started therapy weekly because I didn't realize how broken I felt until I left that house. Helen is under watch. If she tries another stunt like the fake sale, we'll file criminal charges. There's more I haven't shared yet. Things I've uncovered about Eli's bank accounts, things I'm sure Helen doesn't even know I know. That's coming soon. This isn't over, not even close. At this point, the legal battle had started. The divorce was happening and the property dispute was a nightmare. Helen had even tried to sell my condo behind my back. But it still wasn't over. Some people don't give up easily. It was a Thursday night and I was at my new apartment, eating takeout when I got a text from Eli. "Can you come to dinner at Mom's one time to talk?" I didn't answer right away. Something about his tone felt wrong, too calm, too fake, but I agreed. Why? Because I wanted them to say it all out loud. No more hiding behind texts or lies. I wanted to see them squirm face to face. I needed it for closure. I got there early at 7:00 p.m. sharp. Helen opened the door with a smile like everything was normal. Her house smelled like meatloaf and entitlement. She said, "Glad you came. We can be adults about this." I didn't smile. Eli was already sitting at the table, looking tired and worn out. Good. We sat down. Dinner was quiet at first, then Helen cleared her throat. We wanted to talk about the condo, about what's fair. Fair? I almost laughed. She kept talking. "You were never financially ready to buy something like that. Eli and I made it happen. It only makes sense that we protect our investment." Eli nodded a little. "It was never meant to go this way." I put my fork down. "You mean the way you lied about her living in the building, forged my signature, and tried to trick me into signing my property over with a fake document?" Helen frowned. "Don't be dramatic." That's when something snapped in me. I stood up. "You think this is about property? This is about how you both disrespected me for 6 years. You never saw me as family. You never even saw me as real." Eli said, "I tried." "No, you hid behind her your whole life. You never really left her house. You just brought it into mine." Helen stood up now too. "You don't understand how hard he's had it. I gave him everything." I looked at her, then at him, "And he gave it all to you, even when he promised it to me." Then I pulled out a folder from my lawyer, bank statements, payment records, proof that I paid for 87% of the condo directly. I dropped it on the table. That's the truth. You can tell your stories, but numbers don't lie. Silence. Ayla's face dropped. He didn't even open the folder. He just stared at it, like it might bite him. Helen said, "This is unnecessary. You're being vindictive." Just then, a voice spoke behind me. "She's not being vindictive. She's telling the truth." It was Helen's sister, Aunt Marie. I hadn't noticed her come in. Apparently, she was involved because my lawyer had subpoenaed Helen's financials, some of which were tied to Marie through a family trust. Marie walked in with her arms crossed. "Do you want to tell her, Helen? Or should I?" Helen froze. I asked, "Tell me what?" Marie looked at me. The money Helen used for the down payment, it wasn't hers. It was from a trust fund left by her late husband, meant for younger family members. She wasn't supposed to touch it. She forged documents to get it released. I found out because your lawyer asked me to verify the funds. My stomach dropped. Eli whispered, "Is that true?" Helen stayed quiet. Marie dropped the bomb. "If this gets reported, and it will, she could be facing fraud charges." Helen screamed, "You're destroying this family. You brought an outsider into our home, and now look what's happened." Eli stood up and yelled back, "You did this, Mom. You lied. You made me lie. You ruined everything." She slapped him right there, in front of me and Marie. He didn't react. He just stood there, shaking, red-faced. I picked up my folder and calmly walked out. Before I left, I said, "You can keep your lies, but you're not keeping my life, my name, or my future." And I walked out. The next day, my lawyer froze the condo's title completely. Helen's accounts were flagged for investigation. Marie agreed to testify if needed. Eli emailed me to apologize, saying he didn't know about the trust fund and was sorry for everything. I didn't reply. Instead, I signed the final divorce papers, had them delivered to his new P.O. box, and changed my last name back the next day. It's been 3 months since that night. I live in a smaller apartment now, no fancy countertops, no shared mortgage, but it's mine. I sleep better, laugh louder, and cook dinner without being judged for how I slice vegetables. Sometimes I look back and feel angry about the years I lost, about how blind I was. But mostly, I feel grateful because I got out. And if you're reading this, wondering whether you should walk away from someone who never stood up for you, here's your sign.
The moment I realized my husband was stealing from my family's company, I was standing in our master bathroom, holding his phone. A notification had popped up, an email from someone named Autumn about redistributing company assets. My stomach dropped as I read those words, knowing they'd change everything. I'm Georgia, and 6 months ago, I had it all. Lead architect at Murphy & Associates, the firm my brothers and I built from scratch, married to what I thought was the perfect man, and living in a gorgeous Denver penthouse with views of the Rockies. Now, I'm living in my best friend Sarah's guest room, cut off from the company I helped create, and watching my soon-to-be ex-husband systematically dismantle everything I've worked for. "Georgia, you're being paranoid," Matthew had said when I confronted him that night, snatching his phone back. "It's just standard business restructuring. You architects should stick to your blueprints and leave the financial planning to those who understand it." The condescension in his voice made my blood boil. "Those who understand it? I helped build this company while you were still chasing ambulances at your father's law firm. And now you're letting emotion cloud your judgment." He loosened his tie, that familiar smirk playing across his face. "Maybe that's why your brothers agreed it was time for changes in management." My brothers, Caleb and Kason. The betrayal still feels fresh, like a knife twisting in my gut. They'd voted with Matthew to remove me from the board, citing concerns about my decision-making. 3 years ago, I'd introduced Matthew to them as our new legal counsel. Now he was orchestrating my exit. "You're making a mistake," I'd told Caleb in his office the day of the vote. The Denver skyline stretched behind him, a view we'd earned together. "Can't you see what he's doing?" Caleb wouldn't meet my eyes. "The firm needs to evolve, Georgia. Matthew has connections we need. His vision for expansion." "His vision? What about our vision? The one we built this company on?" "You're too close to this," Kason chimed in from the corner. My younger brother, always playing peacekeeper. Take some time off. Clear your head. I slammed my hand on Caleb's desk. Clear my head? While my husband dismantles everything we've built? Your husband is saving this company. Caleb finally looked at me, his voice hard. Maybe if you weren't so focused on your pet projects, you'd see that. Those pet projects were sustainable housing developments, community centers, schools, projects that meant something, not the soulless corporate towers Matthew was pushing for. Sarah's voice pulls me back to the present. Earth to Georgia? Your coffee's getting cold. I'm sitting in her kitchen now, staring at my laptop screen. Another email from the firm announcing Matthew's promotion to Chief Operating Officer. My hands shake as I close the browser. I can't believe they're falling for it, I say, pushing the coffee away. There's something wrong with these numbers, Sarah. The new projects, the sudden influx of capital, it doesn't add up. Sarah leans forward, her investigative journalist instincts kicking in. Then prove it. You know the business better than anyone. If Matthew's hiding something, he is. I pull out my phone, showing her the photos I'd taken of documents from Matthew's home office before I left. Look at these transfers, the timing, the amounts. It's too perfect. You need help, Sarah says, studying the numbers. Professional help. I might know someone. A forensic investigator? I ask, hope flickering for the first time in months. Sarah nods, already typing on her phone. Her name's Serenity. She specializes in corporate fraud. If there's something to find, there is. I stand up, energy coursing through me. And when I prove it, they'll see. All of them, Matthew, my brothers, everyone who thought they could push me aside. Georgia. Sarah's voice is gentle but firm. Are you sure you want to go down this road? This isn't just about Matthew anymore. Your brothers made their choice. I look out her window at the mountains I used to admire from my own home. Now it's time to make mine. My phone buzzes, an invitation to the annual Industrial Development Gala next month, Matthew's pet event, where he parades around potential investors. This year, he'll be the star of the show, presenting his vision for the company's future. Little does he know, I have plans of my own. He meets her every Tuesday at 2 p.m., Serenity says, sliding photos across the coffee shop table. Always the same place, that little bistro on 17th Street. I study the images of Matthew sitting with a younger woman, their heads bent close over laptops and documents. Her name is Autumn, I learn, the same one from the email that started all this. She's not just a business partner, Serenity continues, her voice low despite the bustling cafe around us. She's got access to offshore accounts that match the timing of several large transfers from Murphy and Associates. Show me, I demand, pushing my untouched latte aside. Serenity pulls out her tablet, displaying a series of transactions. See these withdrawals? They're structured to stay just under reporting requirements, classic embezzlement pattern. My hands clench under the table. Can you prove where the money went? Working on it. But here's something interesting. Your brother Caleb's signature is on some of these documents, but the handwriting analysis suggests it's forged, I finish, recognizing the slight tilt in the K that Caleb never uses. Matthew has been forging my brother's signatures. Bingo. Serenity smiles grimly. And there's more. Your other brother, K-san? His personal accounts show unusual deposits, but I don't think he knows about them. My phone buzzes, a text from Sarah. Saw Matthew at the courthouse, looking smug. What's happening? I'm about to reply when I spot a familiar face entering the cafe. I quickly slide the photos under my notebook. Lloyd? Lloyd Mills, our family's longtime friend and business associate, approaches with a warm smile. Georgia, what a pleasant surprise. Join us, I offer, noting how his eyes linger on the partially hidden documents. This is Serenity, a financial consultant. Lloyd settles into an empty chair. Financial consultant? Interesting career choice for someone with your background, Serenity. I find numbers tell better stories than people, Serenity replies smoothly, but I catch the warning glance she shoots me. Speaking of stories, Lloyd leans forward. I heard some interesting rumors about new development projects at Murphy and Associates. Massive ones. Your husband seems quite ambitious. Ex-husband, I correct sharply. And yes, he's always had big ambitions, sometimes bigger than his abilities. Lloyd's expression turned serious. Georgia, if you ever need support, the board still respects your father's legacy and mine. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes again. This time it's Caleb. Need to talk. Important. Dinner tonight? Sorry. I stand abruptly. I have to go. Lloyd, thank you. Serenity, we'll continue this later. Outside, I call Sarah. I need you to do some digging on Lloyd Mills. Something feels off. Already on it, Sarah replies. And guess what? Autumn Scott just posted about a game-changing announcement at the upcoming gala, tagged Matthew in it. I flagged down a taxi. Send me everything you can find on her. I'm meeting Caleb for dinner. Be careful, Sarah warns. Remember what happened last time. The restaurant Caleb chose is quiet, upscale, the kind of place we used to celebrate company milestones. He's already there, nursing a scotch. You look tired, he says as I sit down. Running your own firm will do that. The lie comes easily. I haven't designed anything in months, but he doesn't need to know that. Georgia, he hesitates. I think I made a mistake. These new projects Matthew's pushing through, something doesn't feel right. Now you notice? I can't keep the bitterness from my voice. What changed? Documents keep appearing with my signature, but I never signed them. And Kason mentioned some unusual account activity. Stop. I hold up my hand. Are you telling me this as my brother or as someone looking to cover their tracks? Caleb's face falls. You really think I don't know what to think anymore. You chose him over me, remember? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I lean forward, watching him squirm. Because from where I'm sitting, you handed our family's company to a con man. His phone chimes, probably Matthew, wondering why he's meeting me. Caleb glances at it but doesn't answer. The gala's next month, I say, standing. Maybe you should pay close attention to your star COO's presentation. Might be enlightening. As I walk out, I text Serenity. Keep digging. Focus on Autumn Scott and find out everything you can about Lloyd Mills. Her response is immediate. Already found something. Meet tomorrow. You won't believe what's in these accounts. I smile, feeling the pieces starting to fall into place. Matthew thinks he's so clever, playing everyone against each other. But he forgot one thing. I helped build this company. I know where all the bodies are buried, and I'm about to start digging them up. Holy shit, Sarah whispers, spreading the documents across her dining room table. This is worse than we thought. Serenity nods grimly. $15 million, siphoned through shell companies over the past year, all tied to projects that don't actually exist. I pick up a particularly damning paper, architectural plans for a sustainable housing project in Boulder. My project. The one Matthew killed claiming it wasn't financially viable. Look at the dates, Serenity points. The day after they voted you out, large sums started moving through these accounts. But here's the kicker. They're using your original project proposals as fronts. That's why Caleb's signatures are forged. Sarah realizes. He'd never approve these transfers if he knew what they were really for. My hands shake as I dial Kason's number. He answers on the first ring. Georgia, everything okay? Check your personal account, I say without preamble. The one you opened when Dad died. What? Why would I? Just do it, now. I hear keyboard clicking. then a sharp intake of breath. That's not possible. These deposits? Matthew's been using your account to launder money? I tell him. You and Caleb both. He's setting you up to take the fall if anyone investigates. Silence on the line. Then, I'll call you back. Your brothers aren't the only ones being played, Serenity adds once I hang up. Remember Lloyd Mills? He's been quietly buying up company shares through proxy accounts. If these projects fail, he could take control during the chaos. I finish. And Autumn? Former SEC investigator turned private consultant. She specializes in making problems disappear. Sarah lets out a low whistle. Matthew really thought this through. Not well enough? I pull out my laptop, opening the gala invitation. He's planning to announce a massive expansion at the gala. New projects, new investors, all funded with stolen money, Serenity concludes. If this gets out, my phone buzzes. Caleb this time. Georgia, we need to meet, all of us, now. 20 minutes later, I'm walking into our old conference room. Caleb and Kaysen are already there, looking shell-shocked. Through the glass walls, I can see Matthew in his office, laughing on the phone. Tell me you're wrong, Caleb pleads as soon as I sit down. Tell me this is just some mistake. I slide Serenity's files across the table. Look familiar? They should. They're your signatures. Well, forgeries of them. Kaysen flips through the pages, his face growing paler. The Boulder Project, the Community Center, these were all your designs. Which made perfect covers, I explain. Who would question projects that were already vetted? He just needed you two to push me out first. Georgia, Caleb's voice breaks. I never meant, we thought, save it. I stand up, watching Matthew through the glass. He catches my eye and waves, that smug smile still in place. The question is, what are you going to do about it? We have to stop him, Kaysen says immediately. Call the police. And implicate yourselves? I shake my head. Your signatures are all over this, real or not. And those deposits in your accounts? Good luck explaining those. Then what? Caleb demands. We just let him get away with it? I smile, thinking of the flash drive in my purse. The gala's in 3 weeks. Matthew's planning quite a show, presenting his vision for the company's future. Maybe we should let him. What are you planning? Kaysen asks, worry creasing his brow. The less you know, the better. Just make sure you're there, and whatever happens, follow my lead. As I turn to leave, Caleb grabs my arm. Georgia, wait. I'm sorry. We both are. We should have trusted you. I look at my brothers. Really look at them. Behind the expensive suits and corporate success, I see the boys who helped me build cardboard cities in our backyard, who dreamed with me about creating something meaningful. Trust is earned, I tell them. So is forgiveness. See you at the gala. Outside, I text Serenity. They're in. Start phase 2. Her response comes quickly. Already on it. Meeting Autumn tomorrow. She has no idea who I really am. Sarah calls as I'm getting into my car. Lloyd Mills just scheduled a meeting with Matthew for next week. Want me to try getting access? No need, I reply, watching Matthew through his office window. He's still on the phone, probably plotting his grand reveal. Let him think he's winning. The bigger his announcement, the harder he'll fall. Georgia. Sarah's voice turned serious. Are you sure about this? Once you start? He took everything from me, I remind her. My company, my marriage, my brother's trust. Now I'm taking it all back. And as I drive away from the building with my family name on it, I smile, because Matthew has no idea what's coming. But he will. Oh, he will. He's moving the timeline up, Serenity announces, bursting into Sarah's kitchen. Matthew just called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. I nearly dropped my coffee. What? The gala's still 2 weeks away. Autumn let it slip during our lunch. She thinks they're announcing the expansion plans early. Serenity pulls out her phone, showing me a calendar invite. Look who's on the guest list. Lloyd Mills, I read, my stomach tightening, and 3 other major developers I don't recognize. Sarah leans over my shoulder. Those are the same developers who've been buying up property around your proposed project sites. My phone rings. Caleb. Georgia, are you seeing this? The board meeting. I know, I cut him off. What's he telling people? Some bullshit about seizing market opportunities. Georgia, he's got Lloyd Mills bringing in heavy hitters. Once they sign, they won't, I assure him, though my heart's racing. Not after what they learn at that meeting. What are you gonna do? Just make sure you record everything, every word, every presentation. Understand? He pauses. You're not coming? Trust me, brother. For once, just trust me. After hanging up, I turn to Serenity. Tell me you have it. She pulls out a USB drive. Everything. Bank transfers, forged documents, the shell companies. Even found recordings of Matthew coaching Autumn on how to backdate transactions. Send copies to my brothers, now. I grab my keys. Sarah, I need you to call that contact at the Financial Times. Already did, Sarah grins. She's very interested in the story, just waiting for the right moment. I check my watch. Matthew's having dinner with Autumn tonight at Barolo's. Time to say hello to my replacement. An hour later, I'm sitting at the restaurant bar, watching Matthew and Autumn through the mirror behind the bottles. They're huddled close, reviewing documents on her tablet. White wine, please, a voice says beside me. I turn to find Autumn standing there, not yet noticing who I am. Make that 2, I add, making her head snap up. Hello, Autumn. I'm Georgia. Her face pales slightly. I know who you are. Do you? I smile, accepting the wine from the bartender. Because I know exactly who you are. Former SEC investigator, specializing in corporate fraud. Ironic, isn't it? I should get back to Matthew? Go ahead. But first, you might want to check your email, particularly the attachments showing how he's setting you up to take the fall. She freezes. What are you talking about? Those backdated transactions you've been processing, the ones he assured you were legitimate? Check whose digital signature is on them. Spoiler alert, it's yours. I slide a business card across the bar. When you're ready to talk, call that number. Ask for Serenity. She's very good at helping people avoid federal prison. Walking back to my car, I call Caleb. How's the board meeting prep going? Matthew's been in his office for hours. Georgia? He looks worried, really worried. Good, because tomorrow's just the beginning. I start my car. Oh, and Caleb? Watch Autumn during the meeting. She might have something interesting to say. My phone pings with a text from Sarah. Financial Times reporter confirmed. She'll be at the board meeting tomorrow. Anonymous tip about major corporate fraud. Another text follows, this one from Serenity. Autumn called. She's terrified. Wants to meet tonight. I smile, typing back. Tell her to bring everything she has. And I mean everything. The next morning, I'm parked across from Murphy and Associates, watching people file into the building. Matthew arrives early, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Lloyd Mills follows shortly after, then the other developers. My phone buzzes. Kason. Autumn just showed up. She's asking to speak before Matthew's presentation. Perfect, I reply. Remember, record everything. 10 minutes later, my phone explodes with messages. Caleb. Holy shit, Autumn just confessed everything. Sarah. Reporter is getting it all. This is going to be front page. Serenity. Lloyd Mills just walked out, taking the other developers with him. Finally, a text from an unknown number. Autumn. It's done. I told them everything. I'm so sorry. I start my car, heading not to the office, but to the police station. Because while everyone's focused on the chaos at the board meeting, Detective Rivera is waiting for me with a warrant for Matthew's arrest. Ready? She asks as I walk in. I hand her the final piece of evidence. recordings of Matthew admitting to the fraud, captured during our last fight before I moved out. The one where he was too angry to notice my phone recording. Ready, I confirm. And detective, make sure the arrest happens at his office, in front of everyone. As I walk out, I text my brothers one last time. Watch the show, and welcome back to the family business. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's making sure everyone watches it explode. The video of Matthew's arrest has gone viral in Denver's business circles. Sarah shows me the clip for the 10th time. Matthew being led out in handcuffs, his perfect hair disheveled, that smug smile finally wiped off his face. The comments are brutal, Sarah says, scrolling through her phone. Every major developer in Colorado is distancing themselves from him. Not every developer, I correct her, showing her a text from Lloyd Mills. We need to talk, privately. You're not actually meeting him, are you? At the Millennium Hotel in an hour. I check my appearance in Sarah's hallway mirror. Serenity's already there, watching his every move. Georgia, Sarah grabs my arm. Be careful, Lloyd's been playing both sides from the beginning. That's exactly why I'm meeting him. The Millennium's lobby is all marble and mirrors, perfect for spotting Serenity pretending to read a newspaper in the corner. Lloyd rises from a leather armchair as I approach. Georgia, he extends his hand. You're looking well. Skip the pleasantries, Lloyd. Why am I here? He gestures to a quiet corner. I knew, about Matthew's schemes. Not everything, but enough. And you did nothing. I was waiting. He leans forward, waiting to see what you would do if you had what it takes to run this company. I laugh coldly. Run the company? I built that company, while you were circling like a vulture, waiting to swoop in. Smart girl. He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. But here's what you don't know. Those developers Matthew was courting, they're still interested, very interested. Just not in him. In you, you mean. In us. He slides a folder across the table. I'm proposing a partnership. Your vision, my connections. We could rebuild Murphy and Associates into something extraordinary. I open the folder. Development proposals, funding commitments, everything we'd need to expand nationally. It's tempting, almost too tempting. And my brothers? Would retain their positions, of course, under our leadership. My phone buzzes. A text from Serenity. Got it all on video, your call. I close the folder. That's very generous, Lloyd, but I have a counter-proposal. Pulling out my own folder, I watch his face as he reads. His expression shifts from confusion to shock to something close to fear. These are copies of emails, I explain calmly. Between you and Matthew, planning how to take over the company after he drove it into the ground. Fascinating reading. Where did you... Autumn was very thorough in her record-keeping. Insurance, she called it. I stand up. The police already have copies, as does the SEC. Lloyd's face hardens. You're making a mistake. No, you made the mistake, thinking you could play both sides. I gather my things. The developers will get a full briefing on your involvement tomorrow. I suggest you call your lawyer. As I walk away, he calls after me. You need me, Georgia. You need my connections. No, Lloyd, I need honest partners, and I already have them. Outside, Serenity falls into step beside me. That was beautiful. Want to see his face when you mentioned the SEC? Send it to Sarah. She'll want it for her article. My phone rings. Caleb. The board just finished emergency session. It's unanimous. They want you back. As what? Designer? Project manager? CEO. He pauses. All of us agreed. It's time to rebuild. Properly this time. I stop walking, letting that sink in. And you and Kaysen? We'll be right beside you, where we should have been all along. His voice softens. Come home, Georgia. Back at Sarah's, I find her typing furiously on her laptop. Almost done, she announces. The exposé goes live tomorrow morning. Family betrayal and corporate fraud. The Murphy and Associates story. Hold the story, I tell her. I have a better idea. What? The gala's still happening next week. Matthew's presentation slot is now empty. I smile. I think it's time for a different kind of announcement. Sarah's eyes light up. The prodigal daughter returns? Better. I show her the preliminary designs I've been working on in secret. We're going back to our roots. Sustainable housing, community projects, everything Matthew tried to destroy. With Lloyd's developers out, we'll find new partners, honest ones. I pull up my email, starting with the ones who've been flooding my inbox since Matthew's arrest. My phone chimes with a group text from my brothers. Conference room tomorrow morning? Like old times? I reply, bring coffee. We have a company to rebuild. Sarah closes her laptop. You know this isn't over, right? There will be fallout. Good. I look at the Murphy and Associates building through her window. Because this time, we're doing it right, as a family. And for the first time in months, I feel like I'm finally coming home. The gala venue sparkles with champagne glasses and forced smiles. Everyone's trying to pretend they weren't involved with Matthew's schemes, but I can see the nervous glances, the whispered conversations. Deep breath, Sarah whispers, adjusting my blazer. You've got this. I scan the room. Caleb and Kaysen are working the crowd, smooth-talking potential investors. Serenity's positioned near the AV booth, ensuring everything's ready. And there, by the bar, stands Autumn, looking lost without Matthew by her side. Ms. Murphy? A young server approaches. There's a call for you at the front desk. They say it's urgent. I know who it is before I pick up the phone. Enjoying my party? Matthew's voice drips with bitterness. I spent months planning it. From what I hear, you're planning lots of things in detention. How's the food? You think you're so clever, don't you? But you have no idea what's coming. My blood runs cold, but I keep my voice steady. Goodbye, Matthew. Enjoy the jumpsuit. Back in the ballroom, Caleb rushes over. Lloyd Mills just arrived, with lawyers. Right on schedule. I check my phone, a text from Serenity. Everything's set. Give the signal when ready. The lights dim, and the MC takes the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to Murphy and Associates, Georgia Murphy. Applause, some genuine, some hesitant. I take the stage, feeling hundreds of eyes on me. Thank you all for coming tonight. I pause, letting the silence build. I know many of you expected a different speaker, a different vision for our company's future. Movement at the back catches my eye. Lloyd Mills and his legal team trying to get to the AV booth. Serenity blocks their path, phone raised, recording everything. But sometimes the future isn't about new visions, I continue. Sometimes it's about remembering who you really are. I click the remote. Behind me, images appear. Our first projects, the sustainable housing developments, the community centers we built. Murphy and Associates was founded on a simple principle: building communities, not just buildings. My brothers and I. This presentation is unauthorized. Lloyd's voice booms from the back. As a major shareholder, former shareholder, I correct him, clicking again. The screen changes to show transaction records. As of this morning, your shares have been purchased by our new investment partner. The crowd murmurs as a woman stands up from the front row. That would be me, she announces. Sarah Rodriguez, Green Future Development. We believe in Georgia's vision. Lloyd's face turns purple. You can't. Actually, we can. Caleb steps forward. Board approved it this morning, unanimously. And speaking of approval, I click again, revealing more documents. Mr. Mills, the SEC would like to discuss some interesting emails they've received. I believe they're waiting outside. Right on cue, two federal agents appear at Lloyd's elbows. The crowd parts as they escort him out, his lawyers scrambling behind. Now, I turn back to the screen. Let me show you our real future. The next hour flies by as I present our new initiatives, affordable housing projects, sustainable design innovations, community-focused developments. With each slide, I see heads nodding, interest growing. We're not just rebuilding buildings, I conclude. We're rebuilding trust in our company, in our vision, and in each other. The applause is thunderous this time. Investors crowd forward, cards in hand. Sarah Rodriguez beams from the front row. Quite a show. Autumn appears beside me as the crowd disperses. For what it's worth. I'm sorry, for everything. Prove it. I hand her a card. The DA's office is looking for witnesses. Make it right. Later, as the cleaning crew begins clearing glasses, my brothers find me on the venue's balcony. That was something else, Kaysen says, handing me a champagne flute. Dad would be proud, Caleb adds quietly. Of all of us, I correct him. We're family. We mess up. We fix it. We move forward. My phone buzzes. A text from Serenity. Lloyd Mills in custody. SEC found more than we expected. You might want to see this. Ready to get back to work? I ask my brothers, showing them the message. They exchange glances. Then Caleb raises his glass. To Murphy and Associates, the real one. To family, Kaysen adds. I clink my glass against theirs, watching the city lights sparkle below. Tomorrow we'll deal with whatever Lloyd's secrets reveal. Tomorrow we'll start rebuilding for real. But tonight, standing here with my brothers, I already feel like we've won. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about proving them wrong by building something better. It goes deeper than we thought, Serenity says, spreading documents across my new office desk. Lloyd wasn't just working with Matthew. He was running similar schemes at 3 other firms. I leaf through the evidence. More shell companies, more forged documents, more stolen millions. Have you shown this to the SEC? They're building a case now, but that's not the biggest revelation. She pulls out a final folder. Look who signed off on Lloyd's first fraudulent deal. 10 years ago. The signature makes my heart stop. Dad, your father discovered Lloyd's scheme just before he died. Serenity explains gently. These emails suggest he was planning to expose everything. My office door opens. Caleb and Kaysen, faces grim. You saw it? Caleb asks. Dad knew, I whisper. He was trying to stop it. And Lloyd's been covering it up ever since, Kaysen adds, using Dad's death to hide his tracks. My phone rings. Sarah. Georgia, turn on the news. Now. I grab the remote, flicking on the office TV. Lloyd's face fills the screen, standing outside the courthouse in handcuffs. The headline scrolls, Developer Lloyd Mills linked to decade-long fraud scheme, multiple firms affected. That's not all. Sarah's voice is urgent. Matthew's asking for a deal. He wants to testify against Lloyd. A text pops up from an unknown number. I recognize the detention center's area code. We need to talk. Now. M. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting across from Matthew in a sterile visitation room. His orange jumpsuit clashes with his still perfect hair. You look good, he says. CEO suits you. What do you want, Matthew? To make things right. He leans forward. Lloyd approached me 3 years ago, said he knew about some irregularities in the company's past, your father's dealings. Don't you dare talk about my father. He was trying to protect you. Matthew's voice rises. All of you. Lloyd threatened to expose everything unless your father played along. When he refused, the heart attack, I realize, the stress. Lloyd saw me as an opportunity. Young, ambitious lawyer marrying into the Murphy family. Perfect puppet. He laughs bitterly. I thought I was so clever playing his game. Didn't realize I was just another mark. Why tell me this now? Because Lloyd has more friends, powerful friends, the kind who can make evidence disappear. He slides a paper across the table. This is everything I know. Names, dates, accounts. Use it. Back at the office, I find Sarah Rodriguez waiting with my brothers. The Green Future Board is concerned, she begins. They should be, I interrupt, handing her Matthew's document. But not about us. Check your partner list against these names. Her eyes widen as she reads. 3 of our major investors. They're all connected to Lloyd. We need to move fast, Caleb says, before they can hide the money. My phone buzzes. Autumn. Lloyd's lawyers are making moves, big ones, meeting at the courthouse in 30 minutes. Not if we move faster. I pull up my email. Sarah's article is ready. Serenity has the SEC evidence, and Matthew's testimony will destroy everyone involved, Kaysen finishes, including some very powerful people. Good. I hit send on Sarah's article. Let them burn. The next few hours are chaos. Sarah's story explodes across financial news. The SEC announces a broader investigation. Lloyd's powerful friends scramble to distance themselves. Georgia, Caleb calls from his office. Dad's old files. I found something. In a dusty box, we discover a letter. Dad's handwriting dated just before he died. My dear children, I read aloud, my voice shaking. If you're reading this, I couldn't protect you from what's coming, but I know you'll protect each other. The truth about Lloyd Mills. The letter details everything. The fraud, the threats, Dad's plan to expose it all, his last attempt to save the company he built. He didn't fail, Kaysen says quietly. He gave us the strength to finish what he started. My phone lights up with messages. Serenity, Lloyd's lawyers backing down. They know we have everything. Sarah, story's gone national. No hiding now. Autumn, testifying tomorrow, telling everything. And finally from Matthew, it's done. They can't hurt your family anymore. I'm sorry I ever tried. I look at my brothers, at the letter in my hands, at the company our father built and we saved. Now what? Kaysen asks. Now, I smile, we build something worthy of Dad's legacy, together. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't just exposing the truth, it's honoring those who fought for it first. The jury has reached a verdict. The courtroom falls silent as Lloyd stands, his expensive suit unable to hide his nervous trembling. I squeeze Caleb's hand on my left, Kaysen's on my right. In the matter of securities fraud and conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty on all counts. The gallery erupts in whispers. Sarah Rodriguez, sitting behind us, lets out a quiet, yes. Autumn, who testified for 3 days straight, wipes away tears. Lloyd turns to glare at me as they lead him away. I meet his gaze steadily, thinking of Dad's letter in my pocket. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Ms. Murphy, what does this mean for the company? It means we can finally focus on building rather than fighting, I tell them, starting with the Boulder Sustainable Housing Project. Ground breaks next week. Back at the office, Sarah's waiting with champagne. Look what just came in, she says, handing me a tablet. It's an email from the American Institute of Architects. Our community center design won Project of the Year. Dad's design, I correct her, the one Lloyd tried to bury. We just brought it to life. Speaking of life, Caleb enters, grinning. Wait till you see who's here. I follow him to the conference room. Through the glass, I see Matthew sitting with his lawyer. He's in a suit now, not prison orange. Part of his plea deal, Kaysen explains. 3 years probation, full cooperation, and he returns everything he took. I take a deep breath and enter. Matthew stands, looking smaller somehow, more human. The DA says your testimony was crucial, I say. Lloyd's going away for a long time. It was the least I could do. He places a thick envelope on the table. These are my shares in the company, signed over to you, all of them. Keep them, I surprised myself saying, but use them better this time. His eyes widen. What do you mean? The homeless shelter project needs a legal team, pro bono work. Think you can handle that? A small smile, genuine this time. Thank you, Georgia. Don't thank me yet. Caleb and Kaysen will be watching every move you make. After he leaves, Serenity arrives with more news. Lloyd's other victims are filing civil suits. They want Murphy and Associates to consult on the recovery process. Of course they do. Sarah laughs. Who better to help rebuild than the family who exposed everything? My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah Rodriguez. Board approved full funding for next 5 projects. When can you start? I look around at our father's company, at my company. The walls we once fought over now hold new designs, new dreams, better ones. Georgia, Caleb calls. The Boulder team is ready for the final review. In the main conference room, our architects and engineers are gathered. Young, eager faces mixed with veteran builders, all here because they believe in what we're creating. Show me, I say, and they launch into their presentation. Sustainable materials, solar integration, community spaces, everything Dad believed in. Kason leans over. Remember when we used to build cities out of cardboard? Now we're building them for real, I smile, and better than we imagined. The presentation ends with a video walkthrough. As the 3D rendering shows families enjoying the spaces we've designed, I feel Dad's letter crinkle in my pocket. This is it, I tell the team. This is what Murphy and Associates was always meant to be. Later, as sunset paints the Denver skyline gold, I find my brothers in Dad's old office, my office now. Found something else in the archives, Kaysen says, holding up blueprints. Dad's original design for his dream project, the one he never got to build. I unroll the papers, recognizing Dad's handwriting in the margins, notes about community impact, sustainability, leaving things better than we found them. What do you say? Caleb asks. Ready for one more project? I look at the blueprints, then at my brothers, then at the city beyond our windows. The city Dad loved, the city we're helping rebuild, one project at a time. Together, I say, and they nod. Because that's what family does. We build things. We fix what's broken. We make things right. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we create something even better than what was lost. Let's build Dad's dream, I say, spreading the blueprints across my desk. Let's build it right. Because in the end, that's the best revenge of all. Not just surviving betrayal, but thriving beyond it. Creating legacy from loss, building future from pain, together, as family, as Murphy and Associates. The way it always should have been.
The scent of rosemary and thyme lingered in Grandma's kitchen long after she was gone. I stood there, running my fingers along the worn edges of her recipe box, while the sounds of the wake drifted in from the living room. My name is Delilah, and today I buried the woman who taught me that love tastes like butter cookies, and healing comes in the form of chicken soup. You shouldn't be in here alone. Mia's voice cut through my thoughts. My sister stood in the doorway, her black dress perfectly pressed, not a hair out of place. Mom's looking for you. The lawyer's here. I nodded, clutching the recipe box closer. I'll be right there. Put that down, she snapped. It's not yours to take. The living room fell silent as I entered. Mom and Dad sat rigid on the couch, while our family lawyer, Mr. Patterson, arranged papers on the coffee table. Mia slid into place beside them, leaving me standing alone. Let's begin. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. Regarding the estate of Margaret Rose, I barely heard the standard legal jargon, my mind drifting to Sunday mornings in this very room, watching Grandma roll out pie dough while sharing stories of her own childhood. The lawyer's voice suddenly sharpened, pulling me back. And to my granddaughter Delilah, I leave my complete collection of recipes, including all secret family recipes, with the hope that she'll continue my legacy of bringing joy through food. What? Mia's shriek pierced the air. That's impossible. Mom's face turned stone cold. There must be some mistake. Those recipes belong to the family restaurant. They're meant for Mia. The will is quite clear. Mr. Patterson adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Rose was explicit about her wishes. Dad stood up, his face red. Delilah, you must have known about this. What did you say to her? Nothing. I stepped back, shocked by the accusation. Grandma and I just cooked together. We talked, that's all. Talked? Mia laughed bitterly. More like manipulated. You knew she was sick. You took advantage. That's not true. My voice cracked. Grandma taught me everything I know about cooking. It was our thing. Your thing? Mom's voice dripped with venom. Mia's the one who's been running the diner. She's the one who deserves those recipes. You abandoned the family business for some corporate job. I didn't abandon anything. I just chose a different path. Well, congratulations. Mia spat, tears streaming down her face. You got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. The room spun as my family turned against me, their words becoming a blur of accusations and threats. Mr. Patterson awkwardly gathered his papers, making a hasty exit. If you keep these recipes, Dad's voice cut through the chaos, you're no longer welcome in this family. I felt the blood drain from my face. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Mom stood beside him. Give the recipes to Mia, or get out. My hands trembled as I held the recipe box. These weren't just recipes. They were memories, lessons, love letters written in measurements and cooking times. Each card held Grandma's handwriting, her notes, her secrets. No, I whispered, then louder. No, Grandma wanted me to have these. She chose me. Then you've made your choice. Mom turned away. Leave. Mia's triumphant smirk was the last thing I saw as I walked out of my childhood home, clutching the recipe box to my chest. The spring air felt cold against my tear-stained face. My phone buzzed. A text from Zane. How did it go? I couldn't type through the tears, so I called him instead. They disowned me, I choked out. Over recipes. I'm coming to get you, he said without hesitation. Where are you? Outside the house. Zane. What am I supposed to do now? First, we're getting you out of there. Then we're going to figure this out together. His voice softened. Your grandmother believed in you, Dell. Maybe it's time you showed them why. I looked back at the house, at the window of the kitchen, where I'd spent countless hours learning at Grandma's side. My sister's words echoed in my head. I hope you're happy. No, I wasn't happy, but I was angry. And for the first time in my life, I felt dangerous. Zane, I said, my voice steadying. I think I know what I need to do. Yeah? I'm going to open my own restaurant. I paused, a plan forming. Right across the street from their diner, the silence on the other end lasted only a moment before Zane laughed. Now that's the Delilah I know. I'm in. Whatever you need. As his car pulled up, I took one last look at my family's house. They thought they were punishing me, but they'd actually set me free. Grandma had given me more than recipes. She'd given me a chance to prove myself, and I was going to take it. You're really going through with this, Zane whistled, staring at the empty storefront across from my family's diner. 3 months had passed since the funeral, and I'd just signed the lease. Watch me, I said, unlocking the front door. The space was dusty and bare, but I could already see it transformed. Warm lighting, rustic wooden tables, the open kitchen where I'd bring Grandma's recipes to life. Your resignation email to the bank was legendary, by the way, Zane grinned, following me inside. Thank you for the opportunity to waste 3 years of my culinary passion in corporate finance. I laughed, running my hand along the old counter. Well, it's not like I was planning to use them as a reference. The bell above the door chimed, and a woman in her 60s walked in. I saw you two looking around. Are you opening a restaurant? That's the plan. I smiled. I'm Delilah. Laurel. She extended her hand. I've lived in this neighborhood for 40 years. That diner across the street used to be the heart of this community. Used to be? Laurel's eyes crinkled. Ever since Margaret passed, it hasn't been the same. The food's lost its soul. My chest tightened. Margaret was my grandmother. Was she now? Laurel studied me carefully. She used to talk about her granddaughter, who could recreate her recipes perfectly. Said you had the gift. That's definitely Dell, Zane chimed in. You should taste her food. Well then, Laurel smiled warmly. Looks like this neighborhood might get its heart back after all. When do you open? 6 weeks, I said confidently, though my stomach churned at the thought. The next month and a half passed in a blur of contractors, permits, and endless taste testing sessions. Zane helped me design a menu that honored Grandma's classics while adding my own modern twists. Every morning, I'd arrive early to test recipes, watching my family's diner come to life across the street. The night before opening, I was alone in the kitchen when someone pounded on the front door. Through the glass, I saw Mia's face, contorted with anger. I opened the door. We're not open yet. You think this is funny? She snarled, shoving a copy of my menu at me. Grandma's famous pot pie? Her signature meatballs? Those are our recipes. No, I corrected her. They're my recipes now, legally. You're trying to destroy us. I'm trying to build something of my own. By stealing our customers, Mia's voice cracked. Mom and Dad are barely making ends meet, and you're doing this? For a moment, I wavered. Then I remembered the day they threw me out. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Opening night arrived with a line around the block. I'd spent the morning watching my family peer through their windows, whispering among themselves. Now, standing in my kitchen, I took a deep breath. Ready? Zane asked, tying his apron. Born ready. The first order came in, Grandma's pot pie. As I worked, muscle memory took over. I could almost feel her hands guiding mine, hear her voice. Cooking isn't just about food, dear. It's about love. Order up, I called, sliding the golden brown pie across the pass. Laurel was among our first customers, sitting at the counter where she could watch me work. When she took her first bite, tears welled in her eyes, just like Margaret's, she whispered. Maybe even better. The night flew by in a whirlwind of orders and compliments. Near closing time, a young man approached the kitchen. The chef herself, he smiled. I'm Rocco. That was the best meal I've had in years. Thank you, I blushed, noticing his warm brown eyes. I'll definitely be back, he said, leaving his number scrawled on a napkin. After the last customer left, I stepped outside for air. Across the street, my family's diner was nearly empty. Dad stood in their doorway, staring at my packed restaurant. Our eyes met for a moment before he turned away. Quite a night, Zane joined me, handing me a glass of champagne. How does it feel? I watched my father disappear inside their diner, remembering countless family dinners, birthdays, celebrations. Now here I was, their competition, their enemy. It feels, I searched for the right word, complicated. Success usually is. Zane clinked his glass against mine. To new beginnings, I echoed, but my voice wavered. As we headed back inside, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked different somehow, stronger, harder. The soft-spoken banker was gone, replaced by someone who knew exactly what she wanted. But as I locked up for the night, watching the lights go out across the street, I wondered if what I wanted was what I needed. Grandma's voice echoed in my head. Cooking is about love. Was it still love, if you used it to hurt the people who hurt you? I didn't have an answer, not yet. But tomorrow would bring another day of cooking, another chance to figure it out. And maybe, just maybe, a visit from the guy with the warm brown eyes. 3 months into running my restaurant, I couldn't ignore the changes across the street. The lunch rush at my family's diner had dwindled to a handful of regulars, and their open sign flickered weakly in the afternoon sun. Your butternut squash ravioli is divine, Rocco said, leaning against the kitchen counter. He'd become a regular, stopping by almost daily, usually during the quiet afternoon hours. Grandma's recipe, I smiled, sliding him an extra portion. With a few tweaks. Speaking of which, he nodded toward the window. Your sister's heading this way, and she looks mad. The door burst open before I could respond. Mia stormed in, her face flushed and hair disheveled, a far cry from her usually polished appearance. We need to talk, she demanded, ignoring Rocco completely. I'm working, Mia. Now. She grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the office. I've got the kitchen, Zane called out, reading the situation. Once inside, Mia slammed the door. Are you happy now? We had to let go of 3 servers this week. That's not my problem, I said, though my stomach tightened. Not your problem, she laughed hysterically. You're destroying our family. Dad's talking about selling the diner. Mom can barely sleep. Is this what you wanted? What I wanted, my voice rose. I wanted my family to support me. I wanted you all to see me as more than just the responsible older sister who gave up her dreams to work at a bank. Oh, poor Delilah, Mia mocked. Always the victim. You know what? You're just like Mom. Cold, calculating, willing to hurt anyone to get what you want. The comparison stung more than she knew. Get out. The truth hurts, doesn't it? She stepped closer. Grandma would be ashamed of what you've done with her recipes. Something snapped inside me. Grandma chose me. She saw something in me that none of you ever did. And you know what? Your food isn't failing because of my competition. It's failing because you never bothered to learn from her like I did. Mia's hand flew up, but I caught her wrist before she could slap me. We stood frozen, both breathing heavily, years of resentment crackling between us. Everything okay in here? Rocco's voice came from the doorway. Mia yanked her hand away, tears streaming down her face. You're not the only one who loved her, Delilah. You're not the only one who lost her. She pushed past Rocco and fled. I slumped against my desk, shaking. Want to talk about it? Rocco asked softly. Not really. I straightened up, wiping my eyes. I should get back to the kitchen, but instead of returning to work, I found myself walking to the front window, watching Mia cross the street. She paused outside the diner, composing herself before going in. Through the window, I could see Mom comforting her, both of them looking across at my restaurant, with identical expressions of hurt and anger. You know, Rocco said, standing beside me, success tastes different when it's seasoned with revenge. I'm not looking for fortune cookie wisdom right now. He chuckled. Fair enough. But as someone who's watched you cook, I can tell you that your food is best when you're cooking with joy, not anger. Joy. I turned to face him. My family disowned me. They chose Mia over me, like they always have. What's there to be joyful about? The fact that you're living your dream? He gestured around the restaurant. That you're creating something beautiful? That people line up every day to taste your food? Before I could respond, Laurel appeared at my elbow. He's right, you know. Your grandmother didn't give you those recipes to wage war. She gave them to you because you understand what she did. That food brings people together. Well, it's doing a great job of tearing my family apart, I muttered. Is it? Laurel raised an eyebrow. Or are you? The lunch rush started picking up, saving me from having to answer. But as I cooked, I kept glancing across the street. Dad was at the register, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Mom moved between tables with none of her usual energy. And Mia looked lost, nothing like the confident sister who'd always overshadowed me. Order up, I called, sliding a plate of Grandma's famous meatballs across the pass. The recipe card was worn and stained, covered in her neat handwriting. At the bottom, she'd written something I'd never noticed before. Remember, darling, the secret ingredient is forgiveness. I stared at the words until Zane nudged me. Earth to Dell? We've got orders backing up. Right, I shook my head, returning to work, but Grandma's words stayed with me, along with the image of my sister's tears, my father's tired face, my mother's worried eyes. Success, it turned out, tasted a lot like loneliness. The knock came just as I was closing up for the night. Through the glass door, I saw my mother's silhouette, looking smaller than I remembered. For a moment, I considered pretending I hadn't heard. I know you're in there, Delilah, she called out, her voice muffled. I opened the door. We're closed. I'm not here as a customer. She stepped inside, clutching her purse like a shield. Can we talk? I led her to a table, painfully aware of how she studied everything. The decor, the layout, the gleaming kitchen visible through the pass. Her eyes lingered on the wall where I'd hung Grandma's old rolling pin. Coffee, I offered, mostly to break the silence. Please. I busied myself with the coffee maker, watching her from the corner of my eye. She looked tired, her usually perfect makeup slightly smudged, her clothes wrinkled. Here, I set 2 cups down and sat across from her. Why are you here, Mom? She wrapped her hands around the mug. We're selling the diner. The words hit like a physical blow. What? We can't compete, she said simply. Your father's talking to a developer tomorrow. But the diner's been in the family for 3 generations. She cut me off. Don't pretend you care now. I stood up, anger flaring. Don't pretend this is my fault. You're the ones who threw me out because we were scared. Her outburst shocked us both. She took a shaky breath. We were scared you'd do exactly what you did. What's that supposed to mean? Look around, Delilah. You're successful, you're thriving, and she gestured vaguely across the street. We're failing, just like we knew we would if you got those recipes. I sat back down, stunned. You thought I'd succeed. A bitter laugh escaped her. Of course we did. You're your grandmother's granddaughter. You have her gift, her passion. Mia, she paused. Mia tries so hard, but she doesn't have what you have. Then why push her into running the diner? Because she wanted it so badly. Because she's always lived in your shadow, even if you never saw it that way. Mom took a sip of coffee, her hands trembling slightly. We thought if we could just give her this one thing, you'd make up for her not being me. The words came out sharper than intended. We thought we were protecting both of you. She met my eyes. We were wrong. The silence stretched between us, filled with years of misunderstandings and unspoken words. I have a confession, Mom finally said. The night before the will reading, I begged your grandmother to leave the recipes to Mia. My chest tightened. What did she say? She laughed, said I was trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Mom's eyes welled up. She said Mia needed to find her own path, and you needed to stop hiding yours. I wasn't hiding. Working at a bank? Really, Delilah? She shook her head. You were miserable there. At least I was making you proud. Proud? Mom looked genuinely surprised. We were worried. Your father used to say it was like watching a bird pretend to be a fish. A laugh bubbled up unexpectedly. Dad said that. He says a lot of things now, mostly about how much he misses your Sunday breakfasts. The mention of our old tradition made my throat tight. Every Sunday, I'd cook breakfast for the family. Experiments that sometimes failed spectacularly, but always made Dad smile. Why are you really here, Mom? She reached into her purse and pulled out a worn envelope. Your grandmother left this for me, with instructions to open it when I finally got my head out of my behind. Her words. She slid it across the table. Read it. The letter was short, written in Grandma's familiar handwriting. Presley, my stubborn daughter. By now, you've probably realized what a mess you've made. Your girls aren't chess pieces to be moved around a board. Delilah has my gift, yes, but Mia has your business sense, the same sense that kept our diner running when your father died. Together, they could be extraordinary. Apart, well, you're seeing how that's working out. Fix this. Love, Mom. I looked up to find my mother crying silently. She was right, Mom whispered. About everything. We were so focused on who deserved what, we forgot what made the diner special in the first place. Family. It's not that simple anymore. No, she agreed, standing up. But it could be a start. She headed for the door, then paused. Your coffee's better than mine ever was. Grandma would be proud. After she left, I sat alone in my empty restaurant. staring at Grandma's letter until the words blurred. Across the street, the diner's lights were still on, a single figure visible through the window, Mia, counting out the day's meager receipts. Grandma's words echoed in my head. Together, they could be extraordinary. I pulled out my phone and typed a quick message to Zane. Need your help with a crazy idea. His response came immediately. Those are my favorite kind. The sound of breaking glass jolted me awake. I rushed downstairs to my restaurant's kitchen to find Mia standing among the shattered remains of what used to be my front door, mascara streaking down her face. Mia, what the hell? I quit. She waved an empty wine bottle. I finally quit. Told Mom and Dad I'm done pretending. You're drunk. Yep. She stumbled to a bar stool. Turns out you need actual talent to run a restaurant. Who knew? I grabbed the bottle before she could swing it again. Let me call you a cab. No. She grabbed my arm. I need to say this while I'm brave enough. Her eyes, though glazed, fixed on mine. I hate you. Okay, definitely time to go. No, listen. I hate you because you're exactly who you're supposed to be. You got Grandma's talent, her passion, she gestured wildly, her everything. And what did I get? Her name. Margaret Mia. Like that would somehow make me more like her. I sank onto the stool next to her. Mia. You know what's worse than failing? She laughed bitterly. Failing at something you never wanted in the first place. What are you talking about? You loved the diner. I loved making Mom and Dad happy. I loved feeling special for once. She slumped forward. Did you know I applied to art school? This was news to me. When? Senior year. Got accepted too. But then Mom started talking about how you were wasting your potential at the bank and how the diner needed a successor. She wiped her eyes. I thought if I could just be good enough, they'd finally see me instead of your shadow. I never knew. Of course you didn't. You were too busy being perfect. I couldn't help but laugh. Perfect? Mia, I spent years trying to compete with you. You were always the favorite. The favorite? She looked genuinely shocked. They literally disowned you. Because they believed in me enough to be threatened. The words came out before I could stop them. Mom told me everything. They knew I'd succeed. Mia stared at me for a long moment, then burst into tears. God, we're so messed up. I found myself laughing through my own tears. Yeah, we really are. Remember when we were kids? Mia sniffled. How we used to sneak into Grandma's kitchen at night and make those horrible pancake experiments. The peanut butter and pickle disaster. Mom was so mad about the mess. But Grandma just laughed. I smiled at the memory. Said creativity needs room to fail. She always knew what to say. Mia's voice softened. I miss her so much. Me too. We sat in silence for a while, the first comfortable silence we'd shared in years. I saw your paintings, I finally said. The ones you posted online. She looked up, surprised. You follow my art account. Of course I do. You're really good, Mia. Like, seriously good. Not good enough to make a living. Says who? Your latest piece got hundreds of likes. Yeah, well, she gestured around my restaurant. This got hundreds of customers. We can't all be successful rebels. I took a deep breath. What if we could be? What? What if? I hesitated, then plunged ahead. What if we combined our talents, your business sense, my cooking, your art, my food, something completely new? She squinted at me suspiciously. Are you drunk too? I'm serious. Grandma left me a message through Mom. She said together we could be extraordinary. Together, Mia scoffed. We can barely be in the same room. We're in the same room now. Because I broke in, while drunk. Details. I waved dismissively. The point is, we're talking, really talking, maybe for the first time in years. Mia was quiet for a moment. I designed a whole restaurant concept once, just for fun. Modern art gallery meets casual dining. See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. I grabbed a napkin and started sketching. We could showcase local artists, have rotating exhibits, monthly themed menus based on the artwork, special events where food and art intersect. We spent the next hour brainstorming, the years of resentment temporarily forgotten, in a burst of creative energy. As the sun began to rise, Mia sobered enough to look embarrassed about the door. "I'll pay for that," she mumbled. "You'll work it off," I corrected. "If you're serious about this." She met my eyes. "Are you serious about working together?" Terrified but serious. "Me too." She stood up shakily. "I should go face Mom and Dad." "Want backup?" "No," she smiled slightly. "But maybe we could all talk later, when I'm not hungover and you're not enabling my vandalism." "Deal." I helped her to the door, carefully avoiding the glass. "Hey Mia, for what it's worth, I never hated you. I just missed my sister." "Yeah," she whispered. "I missed you too." "You want to do what?" Laurel set down her coffee cup, staring at me across the counter. The morning sun streamed through the newly replaced front door, creating patterns on the floor. "Merge the restaurants," I repeated. "Turn them into something new. With the same family that disowned you." She raised an eyebrow. "Honey, have you lost your mind?" "Probably." I wiped down the counter, avoiding her gaze. "Mia and I talked last night." "Really talked?" "After she broke your door." "Minor detail." "Delilah." Laurel's voice turned serious. "I've watched you build this place from nothing. Are you sure you want to risk it all?" Before I could answer, Rocco slid onto the stool next to her. "Risk is just opportunity in disguise." "Nobody asked you, Romeo," Laurel shot back. But she was smiling. "Actually," I took a deep breath, "I wanted both of your opinions. You've become like family to me these past months." "More family than your actual family," Laurel muttered. "That's the point," I insisted. "Maybe it's time to fix that." The door chimed, and Zane burst in, waving his phone. "Dell, you need to see this." He pulled up Mia's art account, showing me her latest post. It was a digital sketch of a restaurant interior, modern, elegant, with art-lined walls and innovative seating arrangements. The caption read, "Dreams of collaboration with Delilah's Kitchen. Time to heal old wounds." "It's already got thousands of likes," Zane said. "People are going crazy for the concept." "It's beautiful." Rocco leaned in. "She's talented." "She is," I agreed softly. "She always was. We just never gave her the chance to show it." "Well," Laurel stood up, straightening her jacket. "If you're determined to do this, you'll need help negotiating with your parents." "You're offering?" "I was a business lawyer for 40 years before retiring. Plus," she winked, "I've got no emotional stake in this mess. I'll be your neutral party." "I'll handle the menu planning," Zane chimed in. "We can blend your grandmother's classics with some modern twists. And Rocco caught my hand, "will be here to remind you to breathe." The bell chimed again. This time, my parents stood in the doorway, Mia hovering nervously behind them. "We saw the post," Dad said gruffly. The kitchen suddenly felt very small. Laurel squeezed my shoulder and stepped forward. "I'm Laurel Willis, and I'll be mediating this discussion. Shall we sit?" We gathered around one of the larger tables, an awkward collection of past and present, hurt and hope. Mom couldn't stop staring at the rolling pin on the wall. "Before we start," I said, "I need to know something. Are you here because you want to be, or because you're desperate?" "Both," Dad answered honestly. "We're losing the diner, but seeing you and Mia talking again." He cleared his throat. "Maybe we've all been too stubborn." "Maybe?" Mom's laugh was watery. "We've been idiots." "Speak for yourself." Mia attempted a joke, but her hands were shaking. Laurel took charge. "Let's establish some ground rules. Everyone speaks without interruption. All feelings are valid. All past grievances must be addressed before moving forward. Agreed?" We nodded. "Good." She turned to my parents. "You first. Why did you really give Mia the diner?" "Because we thought we were protecting both of them," Mom admitted. "We saw how talented Delilah was, how naturally it came to her. We worried Mia would always feel second best." "Instead," Dad added, "we made everyone miserable." "Your turn." Laurel nodded to Mia and me. "I felt trapped," Mia blurted out. like I had to be someone I'm not. And I felt rejected, I added, like my passion was a threat. The truth hung heavy in the air. Now, Laurel pulled out a notebook. Let's talk solutions. Mia's design concept is excellent. Delilah's culinary reputation is solid. The question is, can you all work together without falling back into old patterns? Yes, Mia said firmly, because this time, we're choosing our roles. I want to handle the business side, the design, the marketing. Let Del be the chef she was meant to be. And the original diner location, Laurel pressed. It's bigger, I offered, better parking. We could renovate, make it match Mia's vision. Using both our savings, Mia added, equal partnership. Dad reached for Mom's hand. We'd step back, consult when needed, but let you girls take the lead. And the recipes? Mom asked quietly. I pulled out Grandma's recipe box. They belong to the family, all of us. Laurel sat back, satisfied. Looks like we have a framework. Shall we discuss details? As the conversation turned to logistics, I caught Mia's eye across the table. She smiled, a real smile, like when we were kids sharing secrets. Maybe Grandma knew exactly what she was doing when she left me those recipes. Maybe sometimes you have to break something completely to build it back stronger. You okay? Rocco whispered. I watched my family, all of them, old and new, planning our future together. Yeah, I smiled. I really am. The renovated diner buzzed with nervous energy as we prepared for our family dinner. The first test run before the grand reopening. Mia had transformed the space into something magical. Exposed brick walls, showcased local artwork, Edison bulbs cast warm light across reclaimed wood tables, and the open kitchen gleamed with new equipment. Stop fiddling with the place settings. Rocco gently pulled me away from the table I'd adjusted for the 10th time. Everything's perfect. Is it? I gestured at the elaborate spread I'd prepared. Maybe the menu's too ambitious. Maybe you're overthinking it, Zane called from the kitchen. It's just dinner. Just dinner? I laughed. It's our first family meal in 8 months. The door chimed. Mom and Dad entered, carrying a bottle of wine and looking as nervous as I felt. Behind them came Laurel, who'd insisted on being present, just in case. Wow, Dad whispered, taking in the changes. This is something else. Mia emerged from her office, tablet in hand. Wait until you see the private dining room. I've got rotating exhibits planned for local artists, and later, Laurel interrupted. Food first, drama later. We settled around the table. Parents, sisters, friends, turned family. The silence felt heavy with unspoken words. Well, I stood up. I thought we could start with Grandma's famous. Actually, Mia cut in. Before we eat, I have something to show everyone. She pulled out a large wrapped package. I've been working on this for weeks. She unveiled a painting. The old diner on one side, my restaurant on the other, merging in the middle into something new and beautiful. In the center, barely visible, unless you looked closely, was Grandma's silhouette in the kitchen. Mom burst into tears. It's not that bad, is it? Mia joked weakly. It's perfect, Mom choked out. It's exactly what she would have wanted. Speaking of what she would have wanted, I hurried to the kitchen and returned with a covered dish. Remember how we never could figure out her secret ingredient in the meatballs? Dad leaned forward. You didn't. I did. I lifted the cover. Turns out, it wasn't an ingredient at all. It was about timing. Letting them rest in the sauce for exactly 47 minutes. 47. Mia frowned. That's so specific. That was the year she married Grandpa, Mom whispered. She always said he was worth the wait. We passed the dishes around, Grandma's classics, with my modern twists, each one carrying a story, a memory. Remember when Delilah tried to make these for my 10th birthday? Mia laughed, biting into a meatball, and set off the smoke alarm? Remember when you tried to help and added sugar instead of salt? I shot back. Girls, Dad started in his warning tone, then caught himself. Sorry, old habit. It's okay, I smiled. We're not those girls anymore. No, Mom looked between us proudly. You're so much more. Rocco raised his glass. To new beginnings. And old recipes, Zane added. And family, Laurel finished firmly. The tension finally broke. We ate, we laughed, we shared stories, some funny, some painful, all part of our history. As dinner wound down, Dad cleared his throat. I owe you both an apology, he said. I was so focused on preserving tradition that I forgot what that tradition was really about. Which was, Mia prompted. Love, he said simply. Your grandmother didn't build this place for profit. She built it to bring people together. Well, I gestured around the renovated space. I'd say we're finally doing that right. About that, Mia pulled out her tablet again. Our social media response has been insane. We've got reservations booked 3 months out. Already? Mom looked shocked. People love the concept, Mia beamed. Art meets comfort food. Tradition meets innovation. Plus, she winked at me. Having a local celebrity chef doesn't hurt. Celebrity, I scoffed. Hardly. Check your Instagram, Rocco nudged me. That video of you teaching Mia to make soufflés went viral. Only because I dropped 3 before getting it right, Mia laughed. But you got it right, I reminded her. That's what matters. Later, as we cleared the dishes, Dad picked up Grandma's rolling pin from its display. She'd be proud, he said. Not just of the restaurant, but of you two. Finding your own way, then finding your way back to each other. Think we can make it work? I asked. Together, he smiled. I think you already are. Looking around at our mismatched family, Mia discussing art installations with Mom, Zane teaching Laurel how to properly plate a dessert, Rocco sneaking tastes of leftover sauce, I felt something settle in my chest. This was what Grandma meant about food bringing people together. This was what her recipes were really about. Hey Del, Mia called out, ready to show them the surprise dessert? I grinned. Only if you help me serve it. Deal, she said. And this time, it felt like a promise we could keep. Order up, I called out, sliding 2 plates across the pass. Through the kitchen window, I could see Mia directing a crew, hanging her latest artwork. A triptych celebrating local food artisans. The dinner rush was in full swing at our newly renamed restaurant, Legacy. The blend of art gallery and eatery had struck a chord with the community, bringing in a diverse crowd that filled both our dining room and our hearts. Chef Zane appeared at my elbow. That food critic is here again. 3rd time this month, I grinned. Think she's trying to catch us on a bad day. Good luck with that, he laughed, then lowered his voice. Your parents just walked in, too. I glanced out to see Mom and Dad settling into their usual corner table. They came in most evenings now, not to check up on us anymore, but simply to enjoy being part of the atmosphere they'd helped create. Delilah, Mia burst into the kitchen, her eyes bright. You have to come see this. Kind of busy here, I gestured at the tickets lining the pass. Trust me, it's worth it. She grabbed my arm. Zane can handle the line for 2 minutes. She dragged me to the private dining room, where a small crowd had gathered around her newest installation. As we approached, I stopped dead in my tracks. The wall featured a series of photographs, decades of family moments in the old diner. Grandma teaching me to knead bread, Mia's first attempt at waiting tables, Mom and Dad on their anniversary, all arranged around a central piece, Grandma's handwritten recipe for her famous meatballs. How did you? I touched the framed recipe card gently. Found it in an old box while cleaning out the storage room, Mia explained. But look closer. At the bottom of the recipe, beneath Grandma's familiar handwriting, was a note I'd never seen before. To my girls, separate ingredients make a meal, but only love makes it memorable. Never forget that you're stronger together. She knew, I whispered. She knew this would happen. Of course she did, Laurel's voice came from behind us. That woman had more wisdom in her little finger than most people have in their whole body. Did you know about this? I asked Mia, pointing to the installation. It was Mom's idea, actually. She's been collecting photos for weeks. a commotion from the main dining room drew our attention. Rocco was leading a group of customers through, explaining the concept behind our rotating art exhibits. And here we have our latest installation. He gestured to the wall, then caught sight of us. Ah, and here are the artists themselves, both culinary and visual. The customers murmured appreciatively, snapping photos of the display. One elderly woman stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I remember your grandmother," she said. "She catered my wedding 40 years ago. Best meal of my life. Until tonight," I promised, earning a laugh from the group. Back in the kitchen, I found a surprise of my own waiting. Dad had donned an apron and was expertly plating desserts alongside Zane. "What?" He shrugged at my expression. "Can't an old man help out?" "The health inspector might have something to say about that," I teased. "Good thing I renewed my food handler's license then." I stopped. "You did what?" "Well," he focused intently on the chocolate garnish he was placing. "Thought I might make myself useful, if you'll have me. Every Sunday," I decided. "That's brunch rush. Think you can handle it?" His smile was answer enough. The evening wound down slowly, the last customers lingering over coffee and dessert. Mom had joined Mia in discussing future exhibitions with local artists. Laurel held court at the counter, sharing stories with regulars about the old days of the neighborhood. "Quite a family you've got there," Rocco said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "Quite a mess we made first," I corrected. "Best kind of family recipe." He kissed my cheek. "Lots of ingredients, plenty of heat, and just the right amount of time to let it all come together." I watched as Mia showed Mom her sketches for next month's menu design, their heads bent together in concentration. Dad emerged from the kitchen, flour on his shirt and pride in his eyes. Zane was teaching Laurel's grandson how to properly hold a chef's knife. The recipe card in the display caught my eye again. Grandma had known that sometimes the best dishes need to break down completely before they can become something better. She'd given me her recipes not as a weapon, but as a bridge, a way to bring us all back together when we were ready. "Hey," Mia called out. "We're thinking of doing a cookbook, family recipes, stories, your techniques, my illustrations. What do you think?" I looked around at our beautiful mess of a family restaurant, at the love we'd managed to cook up from the ashes of our anger. "I think," I smiled, "Grandma would say it's about time." "Then let's get started," she grinned, pulling out her sketchbook. "I've got some ideas." And just like that, we began writing our next chapter together, one recipe at a time.
The diamond caught the light differently that evening. I noticed it during our monthly family dinner as I reached for my wine glass. Something was off about the way it sparkled. After 15 years of marriage, you get to know every facet of your wedding ring. I'm Yasmin, and that moment marked the beginning of my transformation from a measured corporate attorney into someone I never thought I'd become. "Another big win this week?" Derek's voice carried that familiar mocking tone across the dinner table. My brother-in-law had mastered the art of making achievements sound like failures. "Must be nice pushing papers around while the rest of us create actual value in the world." I forced a smile, twisting the ring on my finger. The weight felt wrong, too. "Some of us prefer to build careers on solid ground rather than chasing unicorn startups, Derek." "Speaking of building things," my husband Robin chimed in, trying to diffuse the tension like always. "I just finished a new sculpture commission. The client—" "Oh, please," Derek cut him off. "Spare us another story about your artsy ventures. I'm more interested in Yasmin's latest adventure in document shuffling." He leaned forward, eyes fixed on my hand. "Nice ring you've got there, by the way. Really catches the light, doesn't it?" The room went quiet. My sister-in-law, Sarah, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Robin looked confused, but I felt my blood run cold. "What did you do?" I kept my voice steady, years of courtroom experience kicking in. Derek's smile widened. "Remember when you left your ring at the pool last month during our family barbecue? Such a careless mistake for someone so detail-oriented." "You didn't." Robin's voice had an edge I'd never heard before. "Oh, but I did." Derek pulled something from his pocket, my actual wedding ring. Cubic zirconia is getting really good these days, isn't it? Almost impossible to tell the difference. Well, unless you're as observant as our star attorney here. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Give me my ring, Derek. Come on, it was just a joke. He dangled it between his fingers. I wanted to see how long it would take little Miss Perfect to notice. 3 weeks, I'm actually impressed. This isn't funny, Sarah whispered, but Derek ignored her. What's the matter, Yasmin? Can't take a little prank? Maybe if you spent less time bragging about your latest corporate takeover and more time paying attention to what's important? I walked around the table, each step measured and deliberate. The ring, now. He placed it in my palm with exaggerated ceremony. There you go, counselor. No harm done. I slipped off the fake and replaced it with my real ring, the familiar weight settling back where it belonged. The room remained silent as I returned to my seat. You know what's funny, Derek? I smiled, reaching for my wine glass again. I just remembered something interesting about patent law. Fascinating field, really. Especially when it comes to tech startups and their, shall we say, creative interpretations of existing patents. His smile faltered slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing at all. I took a sip of wine. Just making conversation. How is your investment in that new AI company going? The one you won't stop talking about? Thriving, he snapped. We're revolutionizing the industry. Wonderful. I set down my glass. I look forward to seeing how that plays out. The rest of dinner passed in awkward conversation about weather and local news. Robin squeezed my hand under the table, but I barely registered it. My mind was already racing through case files and legal precedents. Later that night, as Robin and I got ready for bed, he tried to apologize for his brother's behavior. I can't believe he would do something like that. I'll talk to him. Don't. I was already typing on my phone, searching for a specific contact. Some people only learn through consequences, Robin, and consequences happen to be my specialty. What are you planning? I looked up from my phone, thinking about the stack of files on my desk at work, the ones about Derek's precious startup and their questionable patent applications. Justice, I said simply. But first, I need to make a call to an old friend. As Robin fell asleep beside me, I lay awake, fingers tracing the familiar edges of my real ring. Derek had always treated my career like a joke, my success like a fluke. He thought swapping my ring was just another way to put me in my place. But he'd forgotten something crucial. I didn't become one of the top corporate attorneys in the city by letting people walk all over me. Tomorrow, I would start making calls. By the time I was done, Derek would learn exactly what a paper-pushing lawyer could do. I smiled in the darkness, already drafting the legal strategy in my head. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes it just needs to be perfectly, meticulously legal. So, you want to destroy your brother-in-law's startup? Rhea leaned back in her leather chair, studying me with those penetrating eyes that had guided me through countless career decisions. Not destroy, I corrected, adjusting my position on her office couch. Just make a point. Yasmin, in the 3 years you've been coming to me for life coaching, I've never seen you this angry. She set down her notepad. Tell me what's really bothering you. He switched my wedding ring with a fake Rhea. He violated something sacred just to prove he could fool me. My voice cracked slightly. And that's just the latest in 15 years of constant belittlement. And your first instinct is to go after his business? It's what I'm good at. I stood up and walked to her window, watching the city bustle below. You should have seen his face when he revealed the switch, like he'd finally proven I'm not as smart as everyone thinks I am. Rhea's chair creaked as she joined me at the window. What if I told you there might be a better way to handle this? One that could give you what you want while actually making things better? I turned to face her. I'm listening. You mentioned his startup has some patent issues. Instead of destroying them, why not position yourself as the solution? What do you mean? Think about it. What would hurt Derek more, watching his company burn or having to come to you for help? A slow smile spread across my face. You want me to make him need me? Exactly. Rhea returned to her desk and pulled out a file. I've been doing some research since your call yesterday. That AI startup he's invested in? They're about to announce a major product launch. How did you... I have my sources. She handed me the file. Their tech looks impressive, but from what I understand about patent law, they're walking a very thin line. I flipped through the documents, my legal mind already spotting potential issues. These algorithms, they're definitely infringing on at least 3 existing patents. So what would happen if someone were to point that out? Not aggressively, but perhaps through proper channels? They'd need immediate legal intervention to avoid a shutdown. I closed the file, seeing where she was going with this. And, given my specialty in tech patent law, you'd be the obvious choice to help them. Rhea smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone, Yasmin. It's about making them realize they need exactly what they've been mocking. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Quentin, my young associate. Found something interesting about Apex Tech's patent applications. Free for coffee? Perfect timing. I showed Rhea the message. Quentin's been researching Derek's startup for me. Before you go, Rhea stood up, her expression serious. Remember, this isn't just about revenge, it's about changing the dynamic. Make Derek respect you, not fear you. 20 minutes later, I met Quentin at our usual coffee spot. His excitement was palpable as he spread documents across the table. Look at this, he pointed to a highlighted section. Their core AI processing method, it's practically identical to the one patented by Global Systems last year. And Derek probably has no idea, I mused, sipping my latte. He's not exactly detail-oriented when it comes to legal matters. There's more. Quentin pulled out another document. They're planning to announce their product at the Tech Innovation Summit next month. If someone were to raise these patent issues before then, their stock would plummet before they even launch. I felt a familiar rush of strategic excitement, but we're not going to do that. Quentin looked confused. We're not? No, I smiled, thinking of Rhea's advice. We're going to wait until they announce. Let Derek have his moment in the sun. Then, we'll send a friendly letter pointing out the patent issues and offering our services to help resolve them. That's actually brilliant. Quentin's eyes widened. He'll have to come to you for help. Exactly. And when he does, I'll be nothing but professional. I gathered the documents. Because that's what real lawyers do, right? We don't just push papers, we solve problems. As I walked back to my office, I felt lighter than I had in days. This wasn't about petty revenge anymore. This was about proving my worth in a way Derek couldn't ignore. My phone buzzed again. Robin this time. Derek's been bragging about the startup all day. Says it's going to change everything. You okay? I typed back, never better. Sometimes the best response to mockery is excellence. Sitting at my desk, I started drafting the framework for what would become either a brilliant legal strategy or a masterclass in professional karma. Either way, Derek was about to learn that underestimating me was the biggest mistake he'd ever made. And the best part, I wouldn't have to break a single law to prove it. 3 patent violations, 2 trademark infringements, and 1 potentially stolen source code. I laid out the evidence on Stephanie's desk, watching my mentor's eyebrows rise with each document. What do you think? Stephanie adjusted her reading glasses, examining the files with the scrutiny that had made her one of the city's most feared patent attorneys. I think your brother-in-law is sitting on a legal time bomb. The question is, how do we approach this without looking vindictive? Well, Stephanie leaned back, a knowing smile crossing her face. You could always let someone else make the first move. Before I could respond, Quentin burst into the office, barely remembering to knock. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. He thrust his tablet toward us, displaying a tech news website. Apex just announced their launch date, 3 weeks from now. I scanned the article, my heart racing. They're calling it revolutionary AI technology that will reshape the industry. Derek's quoted here, bragging about their innovative approach. Innovative is one word for it, Stephanie muttered, pointing to a specific paragraph. Look at how they describe their processing algorithm. They're not even trying to hide the similarity to Global Systems' patent. What's our next move? Quentin asked, practically bouncing with anticipation. I pulled out my phone, checking my calendar. First, we need to... A knock at the door interrupted me. Robin stood there looking uncomfortable. "Hey, sorry to drop by unannounced, but Derek's downstairs. He wants to talk to you." My stomach tightened. About what? He says it's about the startup. Something about wanting your legal opinion before the launch. Stephanie and Quentin exchanged glances as I gathered the documents, quickly sliding them into a folder. "Perfect timing," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Send him up." Minutes later, Derek strode into the office like he owned it, his usual smirk firmly in place. "Little sister, hope I'm not interrupting your important paper pushing." "What can I help you with, Derek?" I gestured to a chair, maintaining my professional demeanor. "Well, since you're so interested in patent law," he settled into the seat, spreading his legs in that deliberately dominating way of his, "I thought I'd let you take a look at our tech. Maybe you'd like to invest? Get in on the ground floor of something actually important?" I opened my laptop, keeping my expression neutral. "Why don't you walk me through what you're working on?" For the next 20 minutes, Derek enthusiastically detailed Apex's technology, unknowingly confirming every patent violation we'd discovered. I took notes, watching Stephanie's face grow increasingly concerned behind him. "So," he concluded, "what do you think? Ready to put some of that lawyer money into a real business?" "Actually," I turned my laptop around, displaying one of Global Systems' patents, "I have some concerns about this part of your processing method." Derek's smile faltered slightly. "What about it?" "It bears a striking resemblance to existing technology. Have your legal team reviewed these patents?" "We have people who handle that stuff," he waved dismissively. "Everything's fine." "Are you sure?" I pulled up another document. "Because this could be a serious issue if—" "Look," he cut me off, standing abruptly. "I didn't come here for a lecture. I was trying to do you a favor, give you a chance to be part of something meaningful instead of just this." He gestured around my office with disdain. I stood as well, matching his stance. "Derek, as your sister-in-law and a patent attorney, I strongly suggest you have your legal team review these documents before your launch. Always have to prove you're the smartest person in the room, don't you?" His voice dripped with contempt. "This is why nobody likes working with lawyers. You think you know everything." "I'm trying to help you." "No, you're trying to show off." He headed for the door, then turned back with a sneer. "By the way, how's that ring fitting? Still sure it's the real one?" After he left, Stephanie broke the tense silence. "Well, that was illuminating." "Did you get all that?" I asked Quentin, who had been quietly recording the conversation with my prior approval, standard practice for legal consultations. He nodded, holding up his phone. "Every word, including his admission that they haven't properly vetted the patents." "Perfect." I sat back down, my hands shaking slightly with anger and anticipation. "Now we wait." "For what?" Robin asked, having witnessed the entire exchange from the doorway. I pulled out the folder of evidence we'd collected. For Derek to learn that sometimes pushing papers is exactly what creates actual value in the world. "And when he does?" Quentin asked. "Then," I smiled, thinking of Ria's advice, "I'll be here to help him fix it, whether he likes it or not." The pieces were falling into place. Derek had just walked into my office and handed me everything I needed. Sometimes revenge doesn't require elaborate schemes. Sometimes it just requires patience and letting people reveal their own mistakes. 3 weeks until the launch. The countdown had begun. "You should see his face when he talks about the startup," Robin said, arranging his latest sculpture in our living room. I've never seen Derek so excited about anything. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing the final details of our legal strategy. "Excited enough to have actually checked their patents?" "Come on, Yasmin. Maybe we should tell him what you found. Give him a chance to fix it before—" The doorbell interrupted us. Robin's new potential buyer, some tech executive he'd met at a gallery, was right on time for dinner. "Just be nice," Robin whispered as he went to answer the door. "For me?" I closed my laptop and plastered on my best corporate smile as a tall man in an expensive suit walked in. "Michael, welcome to our home," Robin greeted him warmly. "This place is amazing," Michael said, looking around at Robin's artwork. His eyes landed on me. "And you must be the famous lawyer wife I've heard about." "Guilty as charged," I replied, shaking his hand. Actually, Michael's eyes lit up. I'd love your opinion on something. I've been hearing incredible things about this new AI company, Apex Tech. They're about to revolutionize the industry with their processing algorithms. I nearly choked on my wine. Oh, what have you heard? Their approach to AI processing is groundbreaking. I'm considering a major investment before their launch next week. He pulled out his phone, showing me their investor presentation. Look at these projections. Robin shot me a warning glance as I examined the slides. Those are impressive numbers, I managed. Derek, my brother, he's one of their key investors, Robin added proudly. He's got a real eye for successful ventures. Michael's expression brightened further. Derek Hopkins? I just had lunch with him yesterday. Brilliant guy. He really understands the tech landscape. I set down my wine glass harder than necessary. Would anyone like to see Robin's new sculpture? But Michael wasn't done. You know, Derek mentioned you work in corporate law. He says you're very detail-oriented. Something in his tone made me think Derek's actual words had been less complimentary. I specialize in patent law, actually, I replied, watching Michael's expression carefully, particularly in the tech sector. Oh? A flicker of concern crossed his face. Have you looked at Apex's patents? I'm familiar with their technology. I smiled tightly. It's certainly innovative. Robin cleared his throat loudly. The sculpture? It's just in the other room. Just one more question, Michael turned back to me. As a patent attorney, what do you think about their claims regarding their processing method? Some people are saying it's similar to existing technology. I felt Robin's eyes on me, silently pleading. This was my chance to warn them, to prevent what was coming. But I remembered Derek's smirk as he dangled my wedding ring, his constant belittlement of my career. I couldn't comment without reviewing their documentation in detail, I said smoothly, but I'm sure they've done their due diligence. Later that night, after Michael left with a promise to purchase Robin's sculpture, my husband confronted me in our bedroom. You could have warned him, Robin said quietly. You could have prevented him from making a bad investment. Like Derek prevented me from wearing a fake ring for 3 weeks, I snapped, then immediately regretted it at Robin's hurt expression. This isn't just about Derek anymore, he said. Michael seems like a good guy. He doesn't deserve to lose money because my brother is... He trailed off. An arrogant jerk who never bothers to check the details? I finished for him. I was going to say, overconfident. Robin sat on the bed beside me. Look, I know what Derek did was wrong, but this plan of yours, it's going to hurt more people than just him. My phone buzzed, a text from Quentin. Global Systems just received our anonymous tip about the patent violation. Their legal team is reviewing it. It's too late to stop it now, I showed Robin the message. The wheels are in motion. There's always time to choose a different path, he said softly. That's what makes us better than Derek. I stared at my wedding ring, the real one, catching the light just as it should. Sometimes the right path isn't the easy one. And sometimes, Robin kissed my forehead before turning out the light, revenge isn't as satisfying as we think it will be. I lay awake long after Robin fell asleep, thinking about Michael's eager face as he talked about investing, about the other innocent people who might get caught in the crossfire of my vendetta against Derek. For the first time since this began, I wondered if I was becoming exactly what Derek had always accused me of being, someone who cared more about being right than doing right. But it was too late now. In less than a week, everything would come to a head, and there would be no turning back. The Tech Innovation Summit buzzed with excitement. I stood at the back of the packed auditorium, watching Derek take the stage with Apex's CEO. Quentin appeared at my side, tablet in hand. Global Systems lawyers are in position, he whispered. They're waiting for the product demonstration to file the injunction. I nodded, my stomach churning as Derek grabbed the microphone. Today, we're not just launching a product, he announced, beaming with pride. We're revolutionizing artificial intelligence as we know it. The crowd applauded. In the front row, I spotted Michael, the art buyer, leaning forward eagerly. Robin sat beside him, shooting worried glances in my direction. Our proprietary processing algorithm, Derek continued, represents a breakthrough in AI technology, Something that's never been done before. My phone vibrated. A message from Stephanie. Global's legal team is reviewing the live stream. Ready when you are. Watch this demonstration. Derek pressed a button, and screens around the auditorium lit up with Apex's interface. Our AI can process complex data sets in milliseconds, using our innovative... The rest of his words faded as I noticed something odd. The processing method they were showing wasn't the one from their patent applications. This was different. My heart rate quickened as I frantically scrolled through the documents on my phone. "Quentin!" I hissed. "Are you seeing this?" He was already typing furiously. "They changed it. The whole system is different. This isn't infringing on anything," I finished, a cold realization washing over me. They must have found the issues and fixed them. The demonstration continued as I fired off messages to Stephanie and Global's legal team. The response came back quickly. The new system appeared to be legally clear. My carefully laid trap had just evaporated. Derek's voice cut through my panic. "And we have someone special to thank for this last-minute improvement." He smiled directly at me in the back of the room. "My sister-in-law Yasmin, whose thorough legal concerns helped us refine our approach." The audience turned to look at me. Robin's eyes widened in surprise. "Come on up here, Yasmin," Derek called out. "Don't be shy. Show everyone how your paper pushing actually helped us create something better." My legs moved automatically, carrying me to the stage. Derek's smile was different now, not mocking, but something else I couldn't quite read. "Thanks to Yasmin's eagle eye," he continued as I reached the podium, "we discovered some potential issues with our original design. Her, let's call it intense interest in our patents, forced us to innovate even further." The audience applauded. I stood there, frozen, as Derek turned to me. "Would you like to explain to everyone how your legal expertise helped shape this breakthrough?" he asked, holding out the microphone. In that moment, I saw what he'd done. He'd known. Somehow, he'd known what I was planning and had used it to make Apex's technology even stronger. My revenge had backfired spectacularly. I took the microphone, legal training kicking in to maintain composure. "As a patent attorney, my job is to ensure innovation happens within proper legal frameworks. I'm pleased that Apex took these concerns seriously." "She's being modest." Derek wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "Without her careful review, we might have launched an inferior product. Sometimes we need someone to point out our blind spots, even if we don't want to hear it." More applause. I felt sick. The rest of the presentation passed in a blur. When it finally ended, Derek pulled me aside in the green room. "Did you really think I wouldn't have someone monitoring for potential legal challenges?" he asked, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Especially from you? How long did you know?" "About your investigation? Pretty much from the start? About the ring switch being a mistake that went too far, since I saw your face that night at dinner?" He actually looked uncomfortable. "I deserved whatever you were planning." "So you fixed the patents just to thwart me?" "No," he sighed. "I fixed them because you were right, and because sometimes the best way to beat someone at their own game is to actually learn from them." Before I could respond, Michael burst in. "Derek! The investors are going crazy for this. We're looking at triple our projected funding." As they celebrated, I slipped out of the room. Robin was waiting in the hallway. "You knew?" I asked him. "Derek told me last week," he admitted. "He wanted to make things right, but in his own way." "By humiliating me in front of everyone?" "By giving you credit for making Apex better." Robin took my hand, thumb brushing over my wedding ring. "Sometimes winning doesn't look the way we expect it to." I looked down at our joined hands, thinking about karma and consequences, about revenge and redemption. Maybe the real victory wasn't in tearing Derek down, but in forcing him to rise to a higher standard, even if it meant admitting I'd helped him get there. "Come on," Robin squeezed my hand. "I hear there's champagne at the reception, and I think you and Derek have some real talking to do." The reception buzzed with excitement, but I couldn't focus on the champagne or congratulations. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating with messages from Stephanie and our legal team, all trying to understand what had just happened. "There's our star legal advisor," Derek's voice boomed across the room. He was surrounded by investors, their faces glowing with the promise of future profits. Yasmin, come tell everyone how you helped shape Apex's success story. I plastered on my courtroom smile and walked over. Just doing my job. Always so modest, Derek grinned, but his eyes held something different. Uncertainty, maybe even a hint of guilt. Listen, could we talk? Privately? Before I could answer, Quentin rushed up to us, his face pale. Yasmin, we have a problem. A big one. Derek's expression shifted. What kind of problem? Not here. Quentin glanced nervously at the investors. We found an empty conference room. Quentin pulled out his tablet, hands shaking slightly. The new processing method? It's not completely clear either. There's another patent holder, a small startup in Seattle. They filed 6 months ago. Derek's confidence crumbled. What? But we checked everything. They're filing an injunction right now, Quentin continued. They want an immediate cease and desist on the product launch. How bad? I asked, already pulling up my email. Bad enough to tank the company if we don't handle it right, Quentin replied. They've got a solid case. Derek slumped into a chair, running his hands through his hair. All those investors out there. We just announced, this can't be happening. I watched him, remembering all the times he'd mocked my career, called it meaningless paper pushing. Now here he was, about to lose everything because of those same papers. Show me the patent, I said to Quentin. For the next 20 minutes, we reviewed the documents. The overlap was significant, but not total. There might be room to maneuver, but it would take careful negotiation. Well? Derek looked up at me, and for the first time in 15 years, I saw genuine respect in his eyes. Can you fix this? Maybe, I said slowly. But you'd have to trust me completely. No more games, no more mockery. Anything, he said quickly. Please, Yasmin. I know I don't deserve your help, but there are people counting on me. Good people who invested their savings. Like Michael? I raised an eyebrow. Derek winced. I never should have encouraged him to invest before we were totally clear. I never should have done a lot of things. My phone buzzed again. The Seattle company's lawyers wanted an immediate response. I thought about karma, about revenge, about how victory sometimes comes in unexpected forms. Okay, I straightened up. Here's what we're going to do. Quentin, get Stephanie on video conference. Derek, I need you to tell me absolutely everything about your technology. No holding back, no corporate secrets. Now, he glanced at the door. What about the reception? What's more important, celebrating a product launch or making sure you actually have a product to launch? He nodded, pulling out his laptop. Where do you want me to start? For the next 2 hours, we worked intensively. Derek explained every detail of their technology, while I identified potential negotiation points. Stephanie joined us virtually, helping craft a strategy. This could work, she said finally, but it's going to take some serious diplomacy and probably a licensing agreement. Whatever it takes, Derek agreed immediately. I trust Yasmin's judgment. Those words hung in the air between us. Trust. After everything that had happened, here we were, working together to save his company. I need to ask, I said during a brief break. The ring switch. Why? Derek couldn't meet my eyes. I was jealous, I guess. You've always been so perfect. Every case, every argument, every detail exactly right. I wanted to prove you could miss something important. And instead? Instead, I proved that paying attention to details matters more than I thought. He managed a small smile. The irony isn't lost on me. A knock at the door interrupted us. Robin peeked in. Everything okay in here? Getting there, I said, surprised to find I meant it. We're working on it together. Together? Robin looked between us, hope crossing his face. Yeah, Derek stood up, offering his hand to me. If my sister-in-law is willing to help after everything I've done. I took his hand, feeling the weight of my real wedding ring against my fingers. That's what family does, right? We help each other, even when it's complicated. Even when one of us has been a complete jerk, Derek added. Especially then. I turned back to my laptop. Now let's figure out how to save your company without breaking any more patents. As we dove back into work, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's being exactly who you are. doing exactly what you're good at until even your critics can't deny your value. The Seattle startup's legal team filled one side of the conference room, their expressions stern and unyielding. Derek sat beside me, fidgeting with his tie as we waited for the negotiations to begin. "Remember," I whispered, "let me handle the talking." Like I have a choice? His attempt at humor couldn't hide his nervousness. My company's future depends on my sister-in-law's paper-pushing skills. Funny how that works out, isn't it? The lead attorney from Seattle cleared his throat. "Shall we begin? We have clear evidence that Apex's technology infringes on our client's patent." I opened my folder calmly. "Before we discuss infringement, I'd like to present a different perspective." I slid copies of my prepared documents across the table. As you can see, while there are similarities in the base processing method, Apex's implementation includes several unique innovations. "Innovations built on stolen intellectual property," their lawyer countered. "Actually," I pulled up a presentation on the screen. "If you look at the development timeline, you'll see both companies arrived at similar solutions independently. The question isn't who owns the idea, but how we can move forward beneficially for both parties." Derek leaned forward, finally speaking up. "We're willing to discuss licensing terms." The other side exchanged glances. This was the opening we needed. For the next 3 hours, we negotiated. I watched Derek's face as he gradually understood the intricacies of what he'd previously dismissed as mere paperwork. Every clause, every term, every carefully worded agreement could make or break his company's future. "What if," I proposed during a crucial moment, "we consider a collaborative approach? Apex's innovations combined with your client's foundational technology could advance the field significantly. Instead of fighting over patents, we could be discussing a partnership." The Seattle team called for a break to consult with their clients. In the hallway, Derek grabbed my arm. "A partnership? Is that really our best option?" "Trust me," I said. "Sometimes winning means finding a solution where everyone benefits." He studied my face. "Like you did with me? Using my mistake to make the company stronger?" "Exactly. Sometimes the best legal strategy isn't about destroying the opposition. It's about building something better together." The other team returned with their client on video conference. The next hour was intense negotiation over terms, percentages, and implementation details. I felt Derek's tension beside me as we worked through each point. Finally, their lead attorney sat back. "We accept the partnership proposal, with the terms as discussed. Our client believes this could indeed benefit both companies." Relief flooded Derek's face, but I wasn't done. "One more thing." I pulled out a final document. "A public acknowledgement of both companies' contributions to the technology. Full transparency about the collaboration." "Trying to keep us honest?" Their lawyer smiled slightly. "Trying to build trust," I corrected. "It's better for everyone if we start this partnership with complete clarity." As they reviewed the document, Derek whispered, "Just like you did with the ring. Bringing everything into the light. Sometimes that's the only way forward." The agreements were signed by late afternoon. As the Seattle team packed up, their lead attorney approached me. "Impressive work," he said. "You turned what could have been a destructive lawsuit into a profitable partnership." "Not many lawyers think that way. Not many lawyers have had to negotiate family peace treaties," I replied, thinking of the journey that had led us here. After everyone left, Derek and I stood looking out the conference room window at the city below. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "Several, actually. Just one will do for now. I'm sorry about the ring. It was childish and cruel. I was so busy trying to prove you wrong that I couldn't see how much I needed your skills. And now? Now I understand why you're so detail-oriented, why every word and clause matters." He turned to face me. "You don't just push papers, Yasmin. You build foundations that protect people's dreams. Even the dreams of people who mock my career. Especially those people." He smiled ruefully. "They need the most help, even if they don't know it yet." My phone buzzed. A message from Robin. "How did it go?" I showed Derek the text. Should I tell him his brother finally learned to appreciate lawyers? Tell him his brother finally learned to appreciate his sister-in-law. Derek headed for the door, then paused. "Family dinner this weekend?" Sarah's cooking. I promise to keep all jewelry authentic. I laughed, surprising myself with how genuine it felt. I'll be there. Just remember, I know some excellent patent lawyers if you ever need one again. I know the best one, he replied seriously. And I won't forget it this time. As I watched him leave, I realized that sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the fight. It's in transforming an enemy into an ally, a mocker into a believer, and a family conflict into a foundation for something stronger. The aroma of Sarah's lasagna filled the dining room as our family gathered for our traditional Sunday dinner. This time, something felt different. The usual tension was replaced by a warmth I hadn't felt in years. So, Sarah set down the dish. I hear the partnership is going well? Derek nodded enthusiastically. The Seattle team's technology combined with ours? We're seeing results we never imagined possible. All thanks to our favorite paper pusher. Robin squeezed my hand under the table. Actually, Derek cleared his throat. That's why I wanted everyone here tonight. We have an announcement. I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. Derek stood up, pulling out a folder. One of mine, I realized with surprise. Yasmin, he turned to me. Apex would like to offer you a position as our chief legal officer. Full partnership stake. The room went silent. I set down my fork carefully. You want me to join Apex? We need you, Derek said simply. The Seattle partnership showed me that having strong legal guidance isn't just about avoiding problems, it's about creating opportunities. What about my firm? I asked, though I could feel excitement building. Keep it, he replied. We'd be your primary client, but you've built something valuable there. I wouldn't ask you to give that up. Robin was beaming beside me. You knew about this? Derek asked my opinion last week, he admitted. I told him it was about time he recognized your value. There's more. Derek pulled something else from the folder, a small velvet box. This is long overdue. Inside was a ring, identical to my wedding ring. I don't understand, I said. It's a backup, Derek explained, looking embarrassed. In case anything ever happens to your real one. No more swaps, no more tricks, just insurance. Because that's what good legal planning is about, right? Protecting what matters? I felt tears threatening. You actually learned something from all this? I learned a lot, he sat back down. About respect, about family, about how success isn't just about big ideas. It's about the details that make those ideas work. Sarah raised her glass. To new partnerships? Wait, I held up my hand. Before we toast, I need to know something. Why now? Why this position? Derek looked at Robin, then back to me. Remember what you said in the conference room? About building something better together? It made me realize that's what family should be about too. Not competition, not proving who's better, but combining our strengths. Even if one of those strengths is being obsessively detail-oriented? I smiled. Especially that, he laughed. God knows I need someone to keep me from rushing into patent violations. And the ring backup? That's my way of saying I trust you to protect what matters, both in business and in family. I picked up my glass, studying how the real ring caught the light, just as it should. In that case, I accept, both the position and the backup ring. To new beginnings, Robin proposed. To family, Sarah added. To protecting what matters, Derek finished. As we clinked glasses, I looked around the table. Here we were, the same people who had sat here months ago during that tense dinner when I discovered the ring swap. But everything had changed, not because of revenge or victory, but because of growth and understanding. Oh, and Yasmin? Derek grinned. Your first task as CLO is to review all our existing patents, every single detail. Careful what you wish for, I warned, but I was smiling too. That's exactly what I wish for, he replied seriously. Someone who cares enough to check every detail, who fights to protect what we're building, someone who turns enemies into partners and mistakes into opportunities. Even if that someone is your annoying sister-in-law? Especially if it's my brilliant sister-in-law. Later, as Robin and I drove home, he asked, "Happy with how things turned out?" I touched my wedding ring, thinking about karma and consequences, about revenge transformed into redemption. You know what? I am. It's not the victory I planned for, but maybe it's the one we all needed. Better than revenge? Much better, I agreed. Instead of destroying something, we built something stronger, both in business and in family. Speaking of building things, Robin smiled, Derek asked me to design the new Apex Seattle collaborative logo. Said he wanted it to represent both technical precision and artistic vision. I laughed. Look at him, bringing the whole family into the business. Well, Robin said, isn't that what protecting what matters is all about? I nodded, watching the city lights blur past our car window. The backup ring sat in my purse, not as a reminder of past hurts, but as a symbol of future trust. Sometimes the best endings aren't about winning or losing. They're about finding new ways to move forward together, one carefully checked detail at a time.
The wine glass trembled in my hand as I stared at the DNA testing kit on Vienna's coffee table. What had started as a casual Friday night dinner with friends had somehow morphed into a game of truth or dare, at 32 years old no less. Come on, Felicity, Vienna urged, topping off my glass. You've been wondering about your family's secrets forever. What's the worst that could happen? I took another sip of Merlot, trying to steady my nerves. The truth was, I'd spent my entire career as a forensic scientist uncovering other people's secrets, but my own family's mysteries remained locked away in a vault I'd never dared to open. I don't know, I said, running my finger along the rim of my glass. Dad's a respected attorney. Mum's the perfect society wife. Maybe some stones are better left unturned. Aidan, my colleague from the lab, leaned forward. That's exactly why you should do it. Perfect facades usually hide the biggest cracks. He wasn't wrong. I'd grown up in a world of galas and charity events, watching my father command rooms with his charisma while my mother played the dutiful wife. But there were always those moments. The hushed phone calls, the unexplained business trips, the tension that would crack through their perfect veneer, like lightning through a summer sky. Fine, I said, grabbing the kit. But you're all terrible influences. Vienna clapped her hands. That's my girl. Now, the instructions say you just need to... I know how to collect DNA samples, Vi. I literally do this for a living. I couldn't help but laugh as I opened the package. The process was simple enough. Swab, seal, send. But as I wrote my information on the form, my hand hesitated over the family history section. What's wrong? Aidan asked, noticing my pause. Just thinking about that summer when I was 12. Dad disappeared for 3 weeks, claiming he was working on a big case in Chicago. Mom cried every night when she thought I was asleep. Vienna squeezed my shoulder. Maybe now you'll finally get some answers. Or maybe I'll find out I'm actually Swedish, I joked, trying to lighten the mood. But my attempt at humor felt hollow, even to me. The next few weeks passed in a blur of casework and court testimonies. I'd almost forgotten about the test until my phone buzzed during lunch one day. The notification made my heart skip. DNA results ready. Close relative match found. Close relative? Aidan peered over my shoulder at the break room table. That could mean anything from a cousin to a sibling, I finished, my voice barely a whisper. My fingers shook as I opened the app. There it was, in stark digital clarity. 99.9% probability of half-sibling match with Maria R. The break room suddenly felt too small, too warm. I'd expected maybe some distant relatives, perhaps confirmation of our supposed Irish heritage. Not this, not a sister. Felicity? Aidan's voice seemed to come from far away. Are you okay? I showed him my phone. I have a sister, Aidan, a half-sister I never knew existed. He whistled low. Well, that explains those business trips. I need to call Vienna, I said, standing up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. She's not going to believe this. But as I reached for my phone, another notification popped up. A message from this Maria R. Hi, Felicity. I see we're a match. I've been looking for my biological family for a long time. Would you be willing to talk? I stared at the message until the words blurred. All those perfect family photos on our walls, all those elaborate dinner parties where Dad would boast about his cases and his golf scores. They felt like scenes from a movie now, carefully staged productions hiding the truth. "What are you going to do?" Aiden asked softly. I took a deep breath, straightening my lab coat. "I'm going to do what I always do, follow the evidence. And right now, the evidence is telling me my father has been living a double life." "Be careful," he warned. "Sometimes the truth can hurt more than the lies." I looked at him, feeling a strange calm settle over me. "The truth already hurts, Aiden, but now I have a chance to make it right." As I typed my response to Maria, I could feel my world shifting on its axis. Everything I thought I knew about my family was about to change. But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe it was time for some truths to come to light. "Hi, Maria," I wrote. "Yes, I'd love to talk. How about coffee this weekend?" The response came almost immediately. "Saturday at 2. There's so much I need to tell you." I clicked send on my confirmation, then looked up at Aiden. "Well, looks like I'm meeting my sister on Saturday." "Your secret sister," he corrected. "God, your father is going to lose it when this comes out." A small smile played at my lips. "Yes," I said quietly. "Yes, he is." I stood in my parents' kitchen, watching my mother arrange flowers in a crystal vase, as if her world wasn't about to shatter. The familiar scent of her jasmine tea filled the air, making this moment feel surreal. "Mom," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "we need to talk about Dad." She didn't look up from her roses. "Darling, your father's at the office. You know how busy he gets with these high-profile cases." "I know about Maria." The crystal vase slipped from her hands, crashing onto the marble counter. Water and flowers spilled everywhere, but she didn't move to clean it up. Her face had gone pale. "Who told you that name?" she whispered. "A DNA test did." I pulled out my phone, showing her the results. "Were you ever going to tell me I had a sister?" Mom gripped the counter, her knuckles white. "Half-sister," she corrected automatically, then pressed her lips together as if trying to catch the words too late. "So you knew?" The betrayal felt like ice in my veins. "All this time, you knew." "Felicity, please." She finally turned to face me. "Your father made mistakes, but we worked through them. We decided it was better to lie to me? Better to pretend we were the perfect family while my sister grew up without a father." "You don't understand the complications." "I understand perfectly." I pulled up a photo Maria had sent me. "This is her, Mum. This is my sister. She's real, she's alive, and she's been wondering her whole life why her father abandoned her." Mum's hands trembled as she looked at the photo. "She looks just like him," she murmured. "I'm meeting her tomorrow." That got her attention. "Felicity, no, you can't." "Can't what? Acknowledge my own sister? Expose Dad's precious reputation?" "Your father loves you. He loves his image more." I started gathering the scattered roses, needing something to do with my hands. "Did you know Maria's mother died when she was young? That she was raised by her aunt? That she put herself through community college, working 2 jobs?" Mom sank into a kitchen chair. "Selena died. I didn't... We never... Selena? Was that her name?" I pulled out my phone again, making notes. "Dad's affair partner has a name now. That's progress." "Please." Mom reached for my hand. "Don't do this. Don't destroy everything we've built." I jerked away from her touch. "You mean everything Dad built on lies? His reputation as a family man, his speeches about moral integrity in the justice system?" My phone buzzed, a text from Vienna. "How did it go with your mom?" "I have to go," I said, grabbing my purse. "But this isn't over. Maria deserves better than to be your dirty little secret." "What are you planning?" Mum's voice shook. I paused at the door. "I'm planning to have coffee with my sister tomorrow. After that, we'll see what truths come to light." The drive to Vienna's apartment was a blur. She opened her door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. "You need wine," she declared, heading for her kitchen. "I need answers," I corrected, collapsing onto her couch. Mum knew everything, Vi. All these years, she knew about Maria, about Selena, about Dad's affair. Vienna returned with 2 glasses of red. Of course she knew. Women always know. But she chose to hide it, To protect him. To protect you too, probably. Vienna sat beside me. Not that I'm defending her, but having your perfect world shattered isn't easy at any age. I took a long sip of wine. I looked up Selena online. She was Dad's legal assistant 28 years ago. Died in a car accident when Maria was 5. Jesus, Vienna shook her head. No wonder your dad kept this buried. Maria said her aunt raised her. Dad must have paid them off to keep quiet. I pulled out my phone, showing Vienna the photo. Look at her, she has his eyes. What are you going to do? I thought about Mum's face when she saw Maria's photo, about all the lies wrapped up in our family's perfect image. First, I'm going to meet my sister. Then, I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then I'm going to make sure Dad faces the consequences of his choices. Be careful, Vienna warned. Men like your father don't go down easily. No, I agreed, but they do go down, and I have science on my side this time. DNA doesn't lie, even when people do. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Maria. Looking forward to tomorrow. There's so much I want to know about you, about him. I typed back, me too. And Maria, we're going to make this right. Vienna clinked her glass against mine. To family secrets finally seeing the light of day. To truth, I corrected, and to karma finally catching up with my father. The coffee shop buzzed with Saturday afternoon energy, but I spotted Maria instantly. She sat in a corner booth, fidgeting with a paper napkin, her dark hair and sharp features so eerily similar to Dad's that it made my chest tight. Maria, I approached slowly, as if she might disappear. She stood quickly, knocking her knee against the table. Felicity, hi, She hesitated, then stepped forward to hug me. The gesture caught me off guard, but I found myself hugging back. I got you a latte, she said, as we sat down. I hope that's okay. I saw on your social media that you like them. You researched me? She blushed. Is that weird? I've known about you for years. Seen you in the society pages with him sometimes. The way she said him made my stomach clench. How long have you known about Dad? Always. Maria wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Aunt Annika, she's actually my mom's sister. She never hid it from me. Said I deserved to know where I came from, even if he didn't want me. I'm so sorry, I whispered. Don't be. You didn't know. She pulled out her phone, showing me a photo. That's my mom, Selena. It's one of the few pictures I have of her. The woman in the photo was beautiful, with kind eyes and a bright smile. She worked for Dad's firm, Maria nodded. Legal assistant. They had an affair for almost 2 years. When she got pregnant, he paid her off to keep quiet. Monthly payments, enough to live on, but with strict conditions. We could never contact him or reveal who he was. But the payment stopped. When Mom died, Maria's voice hardened. Aunt Annika tried to reach out to him, but his lawyers shut her down, said we had no proof, that the original agreement was void, that he'd deny everything. I felt sick. That sounds like him. You know what's funny? Maria stirred her coffee absently. I used to watch him on TV, giving speeches about justice and family values. He'd talk about his perfect daughter, his perfect life, and I'd think, what about me? Wasn't I his family too? He's a hypocrite, I said, anger rising in my throat. A liar who abandoned his own child to protect his reputation. Aunt Annika always said karma would catch up to him eventually. Maria smiled slightly. Guess she was right. Tell me about your life, I said, leaning forward. I want to know everything. For the next hour, Maria shared her story. Growing up in Queens, her aunt working multiple jobs to support her, scholarships that got her through community college, her current job as a paralegal while she saved for law school. Law school? I couldn't help but laugh. Following in his footsteps without even knowing it. I want to help people who can't afford fancy lawyers, she said. People like my aunt, who got pushed around by powerful men with expensive suits. I could help, I offered. With law school, I mean. I have resources. No, Maria cut me off firmly. I'm not looking for handouts, especially not his money. It wouldn't be his money. It would be mine, Helping my sister. She blinked rapidly, eyes shining. That's the first time anyone's called me their sister. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. Dinner at the club tomorrow night. Have some big news to share. Everything okay? Maria asked, noticing my expression. It's him. Wants to have dinner tomorrow, probably to brag about another high-profile case. I looked at her thoughtfully. You know what? You should come. What? No, I couldn't. Yes, you could. It's time he faced what he did. Both of us together. Maria paled. Felicity, I don't know. Don't you want him to acknowledge you? To face the consequences of abandoning you? Of course I do, but then let's do it. Let's make him face the truth. I grabbed her hand across the table. No more hiding, no more pretending you don't exist. She squeezed my hand back, taking a deep breath. You really want to do this? More than anything. I pulled out my phone, typing a reply to Dad. Dinner sounds great. Mind if I bring a friend? Someone very special I'd like you to meet. His response came quickly. Of course, sweetheart. Any friend of yours is welcome. He has no idea, Maria whispered, reading the message. No, I smiled, feeling a mix of anticipation and vindication. But he will. Tomorrow, everyone will know exactly who you are. As we said goodbye outside the coffee shop, Maria hugged me again. This time, it felt natural, like we'd been sisters all our lives. Thank you, she whispered, for finding me, for believing me. Thank you for being brave enough to meet me. I pulled back, meeting her eyes, Dad's eyes. Tomorrow we change everything. Walking to my car, I felt lighter somehow. The truth might hurt, but lies had been hurting us all for much longer. It was time for some honest pain, the kind that leads to healing. I sat in my parked car outside Dad's law firm, watching through binoculars as he emerged from the building. It was nearly 8 p.m., long after his usual departure time. Instead of heading to his car, he walked briskly down the street, checking his phone repeatedly. Got you, I muttered, starting my engine. Following him wasn't difficult. He wasn't expecting anyone to watch him. 3 blocks later, he entered an upscale restaurant. I parked across the street and texted Aidan. He's meeting someone at Bella's. Can you run that name I sent you? While waiting for his response, I watched Dad greet a woman through the restaurant window. She was elegant, probably in her late 50s, with silver-streaked dark hair. They sat in a corner booth, heads close together. My phone buzzed. Selena Bryant's sister, Aidan's text read, Annika Rogers. Current address in Queens. Works as a nurse. Maria's aunt. My hands tightened on the steering wheel as I watched them argue in hushed tones. Dad kept shaking his head, pushing what looked like an envelope across the table. Annika pushed it back. I snapped several photos with my phone, then called Vienna. He's meeting Maria's aunt, I said when she answered. Right now. Holy shit, why? Don't know yet, but I'm betting it has something to do with tomorrow's dinner. He must have figured out who Maria is. How? Maybe Mom told him. Maybe he has people monitoring his DNA matches too. Either way, he's trying to control the situation. Through the window, I watched Annika stand abruptly, leaving the envelope on the table. Dad grabbed her arm, but she yanked away and stormed out. I have to go, I told Vienna. His damage control is about to fail spectacularly. I got out of my car and jogged across the street, catching up to Annika. Ms. Rogers? She spun around, eyes wide. Who are you? I'm Felicity, Maria's sister. I held up my hands when she stepped back. Please, I just want to talk. Her expression softened slightly. You look like her, like Selena. What did he want? Annika's face hardened. To buy our silence, again. Offered me money to keep Maria away from you, from his perfect life. She laughed bitterly. 28 years later, and he's still trying to make us disappear. How much? $500,000. Said it was generous compensation for any emotional distress. She spat the words like they tasted bad. But you refused. Money can't fix what he did to Maria. To Selena. Annika's eyes filled with tears. My sister loved him, you know. Believed all his promises about leaving his wife, starting fresh. Then she got pregnant and suddenly she was just a problem to solve. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria. Aunt Annika just called. Dad tried to buy her off. I can't do dinner tomorrow. I'm sorry. Ms. Rogers, I said urgently, please tell Maria not to cancel tomorrow. This is exactly what he wants, for her to stay invisible, to protect his reputation. It would hurt her less than facing his rejection again. Or it could finally give her closure, give her a chance to show him she succeeded despite him, not because of him. I pulled out my business card. I'm a forensic scientist. I deal in evidence, in truth. Help me expose his. Annika took the card slowly. What's your plan? Tomorrow at dinner, he's announcing something big. Probably his campaign for district attorney. He's been hinting at it for months. Imagine his face when his abandoned daughter shows up instead. He'll deny everything. He always does. I smiled. DNA doesn't lie. Neither do bank records, which I'm betting show years of payments to Selena, or employment records proving she worked for him, or photos like the ones I just took of this meeting. Annika studied me for a long moment. You really want to help her? She's my sister, and he needs to face what he did to both of us. She nodded slowly. I'll tell her to go tomorrow, but Felicity... Her eyes turned steely. If this hurts her more... I'll protect her, I promised. We're family now. Back in my car, I texted Maria, don't cancel, trust me. Tomorrow we show him exactly who we are. Then I called Aiden. I need you to compile everything we have on Dad's connection to Selena. Bank records, employment files, everything. Already on it, but Felicity, be careful. Men like your father don't lose gracefully. Good thing I'm not giving him a choice. I watched Dad emerge from the restaurant, his usual confident stride now uncertain. Tomorrow, his carefully constructed world would shatter. Tomorrow, truth would win. My phone lit up with Maria's response. Okay, for us, for Mum, for justice, I replied, starting my car. As I drove home, I thought about Dad's face when he saw the envelope of money still sitting on that restaurant table. For once, his money couldn't solve his problems. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The hours before dinner crawled by like molasses. I paced my apartment, checking my phone every few minutes for messages from Maria. Vienna sat on my couch, watching me wear a path in the carpet. You're going to give yourself an ulcer, she said, flipping through the file Aiden had compiled. Though I have to admit, this evidence is pretty damning. It needs to be perfect. I stopped pacing to check my makeup again. Everything needs to be perfect. My phone buzzed. Maria, I'm downstairs, scared to death. Go get her, Vienna urged. I'll finish setting up here. I found Maria in my building's lobby, wearing a simple black dress that made her look both elegant and vulnerable. Her hands were shaking. I can't do this, she whispered when she saw me. What if he... Hey, I grabbed her hands. You can do this. We can do this. Remember what you told me about wanting to help people stand up to powerful men? Start with yourself. She took a deep breath, squeezing my hands. Okay, but why are we here instead of going straight to the restaurant? I led her to the elevator. Because we have reinforcements upstairs. In my apartment, Vienna had spread documents across my dining table. Bank statements, employment records, old photos of Selena at company events, and most importantly, the DNA test results. Maria, this is Vienna, I introduced them. She's been helping us gather ammunition. Maria stared at the documents. Is that my mom? She picked up a photo of Selena at a firm Christmas party, standing next to a younger version of our father. They were both laughing, his hand resting casually on her lower back. He looked at her the same way he looked at my mom in their old photos, I said softly. He really did love her, Maria whispered. Which makes what he did even worse, Vienna added, sorting the papers into a folder. You ready to make him face it? Maria straightened her spine. Yes. No. Maybe? She laughed nervously. What's the plan exactly? I checked my watch. We have dinner reservations at 7. Mom mysteriously called to say she's not feeling well. First time she's ever missed a family dinner. Dad's planning to announce his campaign for district attorney. And I just show up and ruin it? No, I smiled. We show up together. As sisters, with proof that the moral pillar of the legal community abandoned his own daughter. He'll try to discredit you, Vienna warned. Say you're lying, trying to extort him. That's why we have these. I patted the folder. DNA doesn't lie. Neither do decades of bank transfers to your aunt. My phone buzzed. Dad. Table's ready whenever you are, sweetheart. Can't wait to share my news. It's time, I said, showing them the message. Maria gripped the edge of the table. What if I freeze? What if I can't say anything? Then I'll say it for you. I took her hand. You're not alone anymore. Vienna hugged us both. Go get him, girls. I'll be standing by with bail money if needed. Very funny, I said, but Maria actually laughed, some of her tension breaking. The drive to the restaurant was quiet, Maria clutching the folder like a shield. As we pulled into the parking lot, I spotted Dad's Mercedes in his usual spot. He's already here, Maria whispered. Good. I parked and turned to her. Last chance to back out. She looked at the restaurant, then at me. No, I've been invisible my whole life because of him. Not anymore. We walked in together, Maria slightly behind me. Dad stood when he saw us approach, his $1,000,000 smile freezing when he saw who was with me. Felicity, he said, voice carefully controlled. I thought you were bringing a friend. I did. I gestured to Maria. Dad, meet Maria, my sister, your daughter. The color drained from his face. I don't know what you think you are. Save it. I pulled out the DNA results. Science doesn't lie, Dad. Neither do bank records or employment files. Maria finally spoke, her voice stronger than I expected. Hello, Father. It's been 28 years. We have a lot to talk about. Dad sank back into his chair, looking around frantically as if searching for escape. This isn't the place. Actually, it's the perfect place. I sat down, Maria following suit. You wanted to make an announcement tonight. Go ahead. But first, let's talk about family, about integrity, about the daughter you paid to disappear. Felicity, please, he whispered. You don't understand. No, Dad. I opened the folder. But I'm about to. We all are. The waiter approached with menus, but I waved him away. This dinner wasn't about food. It was about truth, served cold after 28 years of lies. And judging by Dad's face, he was finally realizing he couldn't charm or buy his way out of this one. Dad reached for his water glass, his hand trembling slightly. Whatever you think you know. December 12th, 1995, Maria cut in, her voice steady. That's when Mum told you she was pregnant. You took her to dinner at this very restaurant, promised you'd leave your wife, build a life together. He flinched. That was a complicated time. January 3rd, 1996, I continued, sliding a bank statement across the table. First payment to Selena, $50,000 to handle the situation quietly. You're going through my private records. Funny how you're more concerned about your privacy than your daughter's existence, I said, watching his face redden. The waiter approached again. Dad tried to wave him over, probably hoping to delay this conversation, but I shook my head. He retreated, leaving us in our bubble of tension. I provided for them, Dad said finally, his voice low. More than many men would have. Maria laughed, a harsh sound. Provided? You sent money to make us go away. When Mum died, you cut us off completely. Do you know what happened then? He wouldn't meet her eyes. Aunt Annika worked 3 jobs to support me. I wore second-hand clothes, took the bus 2 hours each way to school, worked every weekend while my friends went to parties. She leaned forward. But you know what? I graduated top of my class, got into community college, became a paralegal. No thanks to you. I had responsibilities, he muttered, a reputation to maintain, a reputation built on lies, I interrupted, Family values, moral integrity. How many speeches have you given about the importance of personal responsibility? He glanced around nervously. Lower your voice. Why? Afraid someone might hear the truth? That the great Donovan Perry abandoned his own child? I did not abandon. You made my mother promise never to contact you, Maria said, never to tell anyone who my father was. You erased me from your life like I was a mistake to be buried. It wasn't that simple. Actually, it was. I pulled out another document. Here's the contract you made Selena sign, the one where you legally bound her to silence in exchange for money. Real Father of the Year material. Dad's facade finally cracked. What do you want, money? Is that what this is about? Maria slammed her hand on the table, making the glasses rattle. I don't want your money. I want you to look at me. Really look at me. I'm your daughter. I have your eyes, your smile, your love for law. But you never gave me a chance to show you any of that. A couple at the next table was watching us now. Dad noticed too, his politician's instincts kicking in. Perhaps we should continue this discussion somewhere private. No, I said firmly. No more hiding. No more private discussions and secret payments. Tell us about your big announcement, Dad. About running for district attorney. He paled. How did you... Campaign slogan all picked out. Family values. Justice for all. I smiled without warmth. Wonder what the voters would think about your secret daughter. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I met his gaze steadily. You taught me about leverage, remember? About using people's secrets against them. Felicity, he pleaded, think about what this would do to our family. Our family? Maria's voice cracked. I am your family. I've always been your family. You just chose to pretend I didn't exist. A tear rolled down her cheek. Without thinking, Dad reached out to wipe it away, a paternal instinct he couldn't quite suppress. She jerked back from his touch. Don't, she whispered. You don't get to play father now. He dropped his hand, and for a moment I saw real pain in his eyes. I never meant to... To what? I pressed. To hurt anyone? To destroy lives? What exactly didn't you mean to do, Dad? He looked between us, his two daughters, one raised in privilege, one in hardship, both now united against him. Something in him seemed to deflate. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. Acknowledgement, Maria said. Recognition. A public admission of who I am. And, I added, you're going to help her get into law school. Not with money, with recommendations, connections, everything you gave me without a second thought. If this gets out, my career will survive, I cut him off. Or it won't. That's not our problem anymore. The waiter approached one final time. Dad waved him away again, but I stopped him. Actually, we'd like the check, I said. Family dinner's over. As we stood to leave, Dad grabbed Maria's wrist. Wait, please. You look so much like her. Maria gently pulled away. I know, but you'll never know how much, will you? We walked out together, leaving him alone at the table with his untouched water and shattered plans. Outside, Maria finally let out a shaky breath. That was just the beginning, I finished, squeezing her hand. Ready for what comes next? She squared her shoulders. With my sister by my side, absolutely. The morning after our confrontation, Dad's secretary called to set up a meeting at his office. Maria and I arrived together, walking past the familiar mahogany and brass that had always seemed so impressive, but now felt like cheap theatre props. He's ready for you, the secretary said, not quite meeting our eyes. Dad stood as we entered, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Girls, please sit. We'll stand, I said. He sighed, sinking back into his chair. I've been up all night, thinking about how to handle this. Handle this? Maria's voice was sharp. You mean handle us? That's not... He rubbed his face. I've made arrangements, law school applications, recommendations, whatever you need, and there's a trust fund. Stop, Maria stepped forward. I told you I don't want your money. Then what do you want? He slammed his hand on the desk. Tell me how to fix this. Fix this? I laughed. You can't fix 28 years of abandonment with a checkbook, Dad. I loved your mother, he said to Maria, his voice softening. She was extraordinary, but not extraordinary enough to choose over your reputation. He flinched. The situation was complicated. No, Maria said, it wasn't. A real man would have stood by his choices, supported his child, been a father. I was trying to protect everyone. You were protecting yourself, I cut in, and now you're doing it again. This meeting isn't about making things right. It's about damage control before your campaign announcement. The silence that followed confirmed everything. That's what I thought. I pulled out my phone, showing him the draft of a social media post. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to make a public statement acknowledging Maria as your daughter. You're going to apologize for the past and commit to making amends. Or, his lawyer's instincts kicked in. Or I post this, all of it. The DNA results, the payment records, everything. I'm sure the press would love to hear how the champion of family values abandoned his own child. You'd destroy our family name. You already did that, Maria said quietly. We're just bringing the truth to light. He stood, walking to the window that overlooked the city. I have a press conference scheduled for tomorrow to announce my candidacy. Perfect timing, I said. He turned back to us, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. What exactly do you want me to say? The truth, Maria stepped forward. That's all I've ever wanted. Just the truth. Dad looked at her for a long moment. You really do look like her. Same fire in your eyes. Don't, Maria's voice cracked. Don't pretend you knew her. You gave up that right when you let her die alone. He sank back into his chair. The press conference is at noon. I'll make it right. We'll be there, I said. Both of us. Front row. As we turned to leave, he called out, Maria. She paused at the door. I did love her, and I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough, she said without turning around. But it's a start. In the elevator, Maria finally let out a shaky breath. Do you think he'll actually do it? He doesn't have a choice. I showed her the messages I'd been getting from reporters. Apparently, someone at the restaurant had overheard enough to start asking questions. My phone buzzed. Mum calling. I ignored it. Your mother's been calling me too, Maria said softly, begging me to stop this. She made her choice 28 years ago. I squeezed her hand. Now we're making ours. Outside, reporters were already gathering. Word had spread fast. One spotted us leaving the building. Ms. Perry, is it true you have a secret sister? Ms. Perry, what about your father's campaign? I felt Maria tense beside me, but she straightened her shoulders and faced them. My name is Maria Rogers, she said clearly, her voice carrying. And yes, Donovan Perry is my father. Tomorrow at noon, he'll be making a statement about that and much more. The reporters erupted with questions, but we pushed through to my car. Once inside, Maria burst into tears. Hey, I pulled her into a hug. You did amazing. I've spent my whole life hiding the secret, and now the truth comes out, all of it. My phone buzzed again, Aiden this time. Just saw the news. You okay? I typed back quickly. Better than okay. Justice is coming. Maria wiped her eyes, looking at the reporters still hovering outside. What happens after tomorrow? We build something new, I said. Something honest. Together. She nodded, a small smile breaking through her tears. Together. Tomorrow would change everything. But sitting there with my sister, watching our father's carefully constructed world crumble, I knew we'd already won the most important battle. The truth was finally free. The press conference room buzzed with anticipation. Maria and I sat in the front row, exactly as promised, while reporters filled every available space. Mom had chosen a seat in the back, her perfect posture betraying her tension. Ready? I whispered to Maria. She gripped my hand. As I'll ever be. Dad approached the podium, his usual confident stride notably absent. Camera shutters clicked rapidly as he adjusted the microphone. Thank you all for coming, he began. his voice slightly hoarse. I called this press conference to announce my candidacy for district attorney. However, he looked directly at Maria and me. Recent events have made me realize that before I can speak about justice for others, I must first address justice within my own family. The room fell silent. 28 years ago, I made choices that hurt people I loved. I had a relationship with a wonderful woman named Selena Bryant, who worked at my firm. When she became pregnant, instead of taking responsibility, I chose to protect my reputation. I paid her to keep quiet about our daughter. Reporters started furiously taking notes. Mom's sharp intake of breath was audible even from the back. That daughter, Dad continued, his voice cracking, is here today. Maria Rogers, my child, whom I failed in every way a father can fail. Maria's hand tightened in mine as cameras swung toward her. I cannot undo the past. I cannot give her back the years of fatherhood I denied her, but I can finally tell the truth. He stepped away from the podium, walking toward us. Maria, I am so sorry. You deserved better. Your mother deserved better. Mr. Perry, a reporter called out. What about your campaign? Dad turned back to the podium. I am withdrawing my candidacy. Instead, I will be focusing on making amends to both my daughters and supporting Maria's dream of becoming a lawyer. Not through money, but through the guidance and support I should have given her all along. The room erupted with questions. Dad raised his hand for silence. One more thing. To my daughter Felicity, thank you for having the courage to expose my lies. You showed me what real integrity looks like. I hadn't expected that. Tears pricked at my eyes as Maria squeezed my hand. After the conference, we gathered in Dad's office. Mom joined us, looking shell-shocked. Well, Dad said, loosening his tie. It's done. Not quite. I pulled out an envelope. This is Maria's law school application to NYU. Top of her class, excellent recommendations from her current firm. She did this all on her own, but, Dad prompted, but she needs one more letter of recommendation from a respected attorney who knows the value of truth and redemption. He took the envelope with trembling hands. I would be honored. Dad, Maria spoke for the first time since the conference. I don't forgive you. Not yet, but maybe we can build something new, something real this time. Mom stepped forward. Maria, I know I have no right, but I'd like to know you too, if you're willing. Maria nodded slowly. I'd like that. My phone buzzed. Vienna sending a link to the first news coverage. Perry withdraws DA bid, acknowledges secret daughter. The firm will probably ask for my resignation, Dad said, reading over my shoulder. Good, I replied. Start your own practice. Do it right this time. With both my daughters' help. He looked between us hopefully. Maria smiled slightly. Let's start with coffee. Maybe weekly. Build from there. I'd like that very much. As we left the office, reporters still hovering outside, Aidan was waiting by my car. Quite a show, he said, hugging me. Worth missing work? I asked. To see justice served. Always. Maria laughed, a real, genuine laugh. You sound just like Felicity. Speaking of justice, I turned to Dad, who had followed us out. The Women's Legal Aid Center, where Maria volunteers, needs board members. He nodded immediately. Send me the details. We said our goodbyes, awkward, hopeful things full of promise and caution. As Maria and I drove away, she turned to me. Thank you, she said, for finding me, for fighting for me. That's what sisters do. Think he'll really change? I thought about Dad's face during the press conference, about the way he looked at Maria like he was seeing Selena again. I think he already has. The question is, what do we do now? Maria smiled. We build something new. Together. Together, I agreed. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Dad. Dinner next week? Both of you? No more secrets this time. I showed Maria the message. She typed the response herself. Yes. And Dad, thank you for choosing truth this time. As we drove through the city, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's reconstruction, building something stronger from the ashes of lies. And we were just getting started.